What is going on, guys? Big Arai coming at you with the NFL Let's Watch Week 8 New York Giants at the Kansas City Chiefs game. I just posted the betting market data in the Discord, so check that out, guys. I'm personally not making any plays, but there are a few indicators to take. Some teams against the spread. There's also conflicting money line data. There's also some data there to take either the OU, depending on the OU percentage of money. But for me, there's nothing strong enough to indicate for me to make a play for myself. But I will enjoy this one. Let's What's going on, Tony? What's going on, Zaps? Tony said he's on Giants plus 11. I did have action on the games this week, and it went pretty good, Zaps. I know Mickey did really, really well. I think he was like 10-5 or no, 12-5. I didn't do quite as well, but it was a winning day. I think I was up maybe like 1.7 units at the end of it all. I ended up betting 7 unders, and I went 4-3 on the unders, 1-1 against the spread to lose out there, and then I went. Well, technically Sunday I went 2-1 on the money line for just under a unit. So overall, I'd say like 1.8 units on Sunday plus the Green Bay game. So that one helps out too. The Green Bay game was a 2.36 unit win, so that one helped as well. What's going on, Jackson? But no plays for me as of now. I'll double check to see what the market is just before kickoff. But I got a feeling it's going to be no play. How's everybody doing tonight? Anybody else on stuff? I see Tony's on Giants plus 11, which is a nice line to have considering I've seen 10.5. Mostly 10.5 lately. I think it opened at 10, at least at Pinnacle. No bet for you as well, Jackson. Yeah. It's like there's stuff that the market is saying, but I don't know. Not enough for me to like, one of the 6 sides. I've got some Costco lasagna. Pretty leftovers from last night, so I've been a lazy 2 days here for dinner. What's the betting percentage for this game? We have... I guess I should just pull from the source. The Chiefs have 64% of the spread bets, 86% of the spread money, 62% of money line bets, and 62% of money line money. So, ideally for the books, there's a lot more money on Kansas City. So for the books, ideally they want the Giants to win, but I think they still would like Kansas City to cover. They would like the Giants to cover, but probably Kansas City to win, just because Kansas City's like minus 500, and right now 62% of the money is on Chiefs money line. So the best result for them would be a score below 53, Giants cover, and the Chiefs win. So let's say Chiefs by 7, probably the best outcome for the books. Kelce over 90 yards, that seems awfully high to me. What would you set the over-under for Kelce yards going in? Like, just rough estimate.
72? 69?
Yeah. So that's with absolutely no research.
Just receiving, right?
Well, we're still talking about Kelce, right?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I don't know. Ryan Johnson said Kelce over 90 yards and then he put a question mark. So, what's going on, Mud? How you doing tonight? Zit said minus 500 seems high for Kansas City.
It does.
Tony Meatball says over 80 is probably referencing what he could see for Kelce receiving yards. Jackson said, I'm curious how this game ended on the Monday night slate. Even with how the Chiefs are now, the line is still double digits. That's a really good point. Like, what were they expecting from this game? Like, what game should have been the Monday night game this week? Let's take a look and see. Probably Tennessee, Indy, Green Bay, Arizona. Yeah, that too. And then the other one I see is Tampa Bay, New Orleans. To me, those 4 much better selections. Even like the Dallas, Minnesota game without Dak, it didn't really get me going last night. Let's put it that way. The game turned out terrific, though.
That game went really well for me.
That's awesome. I know it went well for Mickey because Mickey thought the money line. He bet Dallas money line with the expectation that Prescott was going to play.
Oops. Zip Bono, it actually was.
And you know what? I would usually have a game like that dialed in on Sunday, but the early slate, there was 8 games, and I ended up betting 6 of the 8, and that just happened to be one game I didn't bet, so I didn't end up watching it, and I'm so disappointed because it looked awesome. I still haven't been able to catch the highlights, but what an exciting game. Yeah.
I had Cincinnati minus 9.5 and minus 8.5, so I lost. I almost middled when it closed at like, you get Jets plus 10.5 plus 104, 105.
Yeah,
it was really close.
I saw it even hit up like 11.5 at some places. So
yeah. I couldn't get 11.5, but
oh, that's too bad because I know we talked about it because we were discussing.
It was close.
Like the middling opportunity on it. And
it was really close. They have on Bet365, they have NFL exact scores now, like exact win margins. I think that's going to be something next year that's going to be big.
That was something you were enamored with, the NHL.
Yeah, because there was reasoning to believe what I believe, and I still believe it. That was very cagey response, but I might as well just tell everyone. Anyways, what I liked about NHL is sometimes the stars aligned, where Pinnacle took exposure. Pinnacle would be, say, exposed on under 5.5, exposed on team A winning over, needing team A to beat team B, and then exposed on team needing team B to lose by 1. So you have like a perfect storm there. They took exposure on 3 markets. Under 5.5, team A to only win by 1 goal. So like, what's the most likely result? 3-2. And Bet365 didn't change the odds really. It was either 7 or 8-1 on 3-2, which is still a massive ripoff, but not if you have all of those stars aligned. You know what I mean?
It is interesting, and what I love about all the data we've been collecting is that we can test that. Like, this is where Fat Guy and I really get our edge, is like he comes up with these, I don't want to say crazy, but he comes up with these unique ideas, and I think it's an excellent idea, and it's cool because we track all this data and then get to test these types of things, which is, I find fascinating. I'm sure a lot of people here who come to these live streams find those same things fascinating as well.
Well, I don't know. It's just from my realistically, my whole thing has been like, okay, figure out what the smartest person is doing, and and try to extrapolate from that. And I consider Pinnacle the smartest and the sharpest, and pretty simple. Pretty simple.
So we have just looking at the betting markets, there's a bit of an advantage, at least market-wise, for Kansas City against the spread, but it's because they have such a high percentage of bets and a very, very high percentage of money. 86% of dollars right now wagered on Kansas City, which has been a very rare case. Only 3 times has this happened over the last season and a half, where the home team has 86% or more of the money, which is it's interesting.
I got equal money on both sides. I'm actually pretty happy.
That's good.
Yeah.
Jackson would have packed his bags for Seahawks Jags, and yeah, even I don't think you could have convinced Fat Guy and I to drive down to watch that game.
No.
And Mud said he did the same earlier in the week, talking about the Cincinnati middle. So nice job on that.
You would have lost the juice. So,
well, depending on where you got it, it's
what, the Cincinnati middle?
Yeah, like Cincinnati minus 8.5, and then that. Yeah, you're right.
No, they
I get
lost
what you're
by.
saying.
Yeah, you lost.
But it depends on what price you ended up getting. It's
no.
It's unlikely what I'm saying, but it could have happened.
What, the Jets won?
Yeah, I know, but you could take both. Yeah, never mind.
That's all right. That's all right.
Because you could have got the Jets plus 10.5 at plus 103, and then one on the juice. But either way.
Yeah, but you would prorate it. That's what you're supposed to do. Is you prorate it.
Well,
so that can't
you could
happen.
prorate it either way. Never mind. It doesn't. I know what you're saying, and I know what I'm saying, and it just depends on what you did.
I guess. Yeah.
Which feed are you watching?
I don't have it up yet.
I've got the option of TSN 3 or TSN 5, so pick which one you'd like.
Let's go 3. I like the number 3. I like gambling. High stakes gambling.
Oh, Mud said the Cowboys money line. That's what he did the same.
Okay, that makes way.
Because there was that was like one of those ones, like it's like the perfect time to kind of gamble on a player's health, just because the line's going to move so much with Dak. We got to see exactly what it was. It was Dallas -1 compared to what, 4.5?
Yeah.
So what's the win probability there? Like 17%, somewhere around that.
Somewhere that sounds about right.
Jackson said, what do you guys think about doing a unit on the Giants money line and then buying back on Kansas City if the Giants take an early lead for some guaranteed money?
I don't mind those strategies because, like, the problem is, though, is that's starting to get worked around. Like the Giants need Like, when do you pull the trigger on it, right? Because the Giants need to be up by about 13 for that to be, do you know what I mean? For them to even be favorites, I think. Depending on the time, obviously, though, right?
Well, I I think what it comes down to is essentially you're starting off the game essentially hoping that the Giants score first. Because if the Giants score first, that line's going to move enough where you can buy back and probably get it. The thing that sucks
They're not
about
going to be favored if they score first, though.
no, but you're going to get a better like you. Let's say right now it's Giants plus 400. You might be able to get Kansas City at like minus 325 if the Giants score the first touchdown.
Yes. Okay.
But the thing that I don't like, the only thing that I don't like about it is that you have to pay the live juice on whatever
Yes.
it is that you're buying back again. So you lose just a little bit more every time you make a live bet.
It's hard to arbitrage with two good bets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's easy to do with one good, one bad. It's hard to do with two good.
What I saw once though, Jax, what I did earlier in the year, and I looked at it with the Chicago bet because I missed the talking about Chicago Bulls. Jax and I were talking about it before in the Discord, and I missed out on betting it. And I found this happen before I think it was an NFL over under, where the live line was actually better for the side that I wanted, like essentially before the game start. But just like, you know how they flipped the game from being like, this is the normal place to bet to like the live place to bet. And the line when they switched it to live was better, which I found very confusing. So I think that's a nice place to look as well. Is like, I feel like I just got super fortunate. I don't know what made it change.
That was weird.
Where they had it like that, but it worked out very nicely.
Well, Kelsey's got 2 yards.
What's going on, Josh Allen? What's going on, Untouchable J? Jackson said, I read that if you do it a lot and you bet enough, it's one of the best ways to get banned by Square Books. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, oh yeah, big time.
It's so tough to like, you know, if they're banning people, then there probably is some sort of opportunity there. But at the same time,
No,
like,
it isn't. That's not why. They're doing it because there is opportunity, but they don't want people that are, how do I put this? They don't want people that are only making break-even bets. It's called the European model. They specifically target really bad customers. That's what they're interested in acquiring and keeping, and then they keep throwing those promos. So if you're not an ideal customer, there's a high chance that you will get banned or limited. Did you notice they put Logan Ryan on Star Watch?
no, I didn't. I've been multitasking that I haven't actually watched any of this game other than that one dump off to Kelsey on the bootleg.
They put Logan Ryan as a Star Watch as a safety. I mean, I think he's playing safety at least.
Well, I'd have to look at all the players on this defense, but he might be one of the more recognizable names.
What about Dexter Lawrence? Like, when you want to feature that? Leonard Williams, that makes complete sense.
Let's take a look at their defense. Let's talk notable names on the Giants defense. Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, even Danny Shelton, but he's listed as a backup, so he might not even be playing. Reggie Ragland's at least a name, like not a great one, but at least a name. Benardrick McKinney, but he's listed as a backup as well. And then James Bradbury and Adoree Jackson to me are probably the two biggest names I'd say in that secondary. So
oh, Buffalo's 14.5. Nailed it. Feel good about that one.
Awesome. Josh, I didn't make any plays in this NFL game. I think, Fat Guy, you said you got pretty much even action on both sides.
I got identical even action. I'm gonna make $110 roughly.
That's awesome. So you could just sit back and relax and enjoy it then.
Oh, there's nothing. I have nothing.
Not that you'd stress a result anyways.
No. There is a little bit of stress in that, like, some guys got 10.5 and some got 10.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 would be 10 by Kansas City would be a bad result.
Okay.
But it, like, not groundbreaking, but I just lose money.
Yeah. See, this is where it becomes interesting, right? Because theoretically, you'd have the option, if you could bet the exact result, and you could get Kansas City at 10. It'd be interesting
it's
to
18
see.
to 1.
Oh, okay. Be interesting to see, like.
I'd have to put like $7 on that. Oh no, not $7. Like $30 on that, I think. But it would eat too much of my profit, I think. Just let it ride.
The Mud asks, what are the thoughts on Tennessee signing AP to replace Henry? Like, it's definitely not, like, it's just not the same. The only thing with Peterson is that, like, he knows how to play the running back position. Like, he can step in probably to almost any offense and play right away. But, like, the guy's old. He's worn down. Like, it's just, essentially, it's just they don't really have anyone that could, like, run between the tackles. And so
Is it confirmed that Henry's out? Like, I didn't.
He's out, I think, 6 to 10 weeks. He's got to get surgery. That's been the latest report.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know the exact extent of what happened to him as far as the injury goes. But it's tough. Like, the guy's been so durable. Like, it's just time. Like, you know, you can't touch the ball that many times and not get hurt at some point in your career. And just, it sucks, right? Like, everybody likes watching
the math
Derrick
is
Henry play.
against you. Yeah, you're right about that.
And we saw it last year. There was a crazy, like, there was this list, and I forget exactly what it was. It might have been like what running backs played all 16 games last year. And it was like, there might have been 15 guys. And I don't think any of those 15 guys were like starters, like guys that played more than 70% of snaps. Like, it was all, it was guys like Devontae Booker type guys that were listed. It's just hard to stay healthy in the NFL playing running back. Well, this has been a nice starting drive here for Kansas City, taking some time off the clock to start this game. I know that Tony said he was on the Giants plus 11. Some people were talking about over with Kelsey yards.
What's he at, 2?
For receiving yards? I'm not sure. Yeah. Oh, Wildcat here with Kelsey at quarterback. Just so unnecessary.
Why would you pull that now?
I don't know, but like,
there's a lot of guys over there. Wouldn't you want to run that play when, do you know what I mean? Like,
well, you know what it makes me think is you do something like that, so then, you know, 4 or 5 games and down the road in the season, you can go to the part where, like, Kelsey keeps it. Yeah. Like when you play, if you're the Chiefs, like, this is meta here. If you're the Chiefs and you're playing a team like the Giants, you know, you're double-digit favorites, you're supposed to win this game. Isn't this the time where you would, like, show things on film that, like, you could kind of do the opposite later on in a game that, you know, they play, Green Bay next week? Like, that's a game that's going to be, like, they're going to need to pull out some tricks, let's say. Like, they can't just go vanilla coaching against the Packers.
Yeah, they could.
They could, but you know what I mean. Like, you want to give yourself an extra edge against the Packers than against the Giants.
But the thing I don't get, though, is, like, it's a Hawk-Dove game. Also, you're giving the other team that's looking ahead, like, at this film, a lot of credit. Like, the defense is just going to know, like, all 11 players in synchronicity, if that's even a word. Like, I don't know.
The I listened to a
What a play. Oh, and it's intercepted.
oh my, who did that hit? Was that to Josh Gordon?
I think it hit Josh Gordon's hands. What do you guys think chances are KC makes the playoffs? I'd say 45%.
They were still like, I think they still had like the third best odds to win the AFC. So I don't know what the exact probability
I looked at
is.
a bunch of sims that said that.
Oh yeah,
Like, and I agree with them.
it's pretty crazy that Kansas City gets that high of a number, considering they're currently favored to not make the playoffs. It just shows you how much like how high that price is. You know, because of Mahomes.
The what's interesting though is they're like a team that if they do get in the playoffs, like they still have pretty good chance. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like they're more apt to string together 4 wins in a row than, you know what I mean, almost anybody else, right?
Well, I forget what
Like-
it exactly was, but even going from like, even if they were 2-1 to kind of make it to the Super Bowl, and now they're 4-1, it makes sense if they still have a 50% chance to
Yeah,
to
I
make
guess
it
that
in. Like
would,
it's
right?
not too far of a stretch.
And we're seeing like some pretty bad, like some pretty like bad results. Like they've had a lot of good fortune, and then like, you know what I mean, all the bad stuff's just kind of happening. Like that play just now, how many times have we seen it the other way? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
Mahomes has been kind of like the guy that gets it done no matter what.
yeah,
and
it's just
it
been
hasn't
magic.
happened.
And then, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's this stuff just happens. And yeah, Jackson, yeah, their defense is bad. Like they're bad. There's no denying that. But I mean, how much better were they like how much worse are they from last year, really, right? You're just seeing a lens of different results. Like are they 15% worse than last year? There's no way. Like you probably saw last year they had really good results in terms of they had really good results in terms of defensive performance, and now they have really bad ones, and they're both a little bit like they're both like off probably the same. Yeah, they're worse this year, but how much worse, right? And like think of the turnovers that Kansas City's had too. Like that's going to tie in as well, you know. Like, and it's my favorite reactionary thing too is people go like, "Oh man, the Chiefs are done. They're terrible," and I'm like, "Okay, like this is still top 4 team, top 6 team at the worst, right?" Like,
That's really like the secret.
I don't
Like
know, like
when you get down to actually handicapping these games, and you kind of find like some sort of system or formula that you like to use, like you still have to input some type of information in that. For a lot of people, that's gut feeling, and it's like, how far do you slide Kansas City up or down?
oh, you turn in terms of regression. That's such a good question, Big Rye.
Because they're not,
You know.
they're probably not first on a lot of people's rankings. They're probably not last on a lot of people's rankings. So it's like, how far would you slide down? Like we always get to see those, like, you know, the power rankings on ESPN or whatever. Like it's interesting to, you know, how far down do you actually slide down a team based off of how they've played?
Off those results, right? Like I like, for me, it's like I almost said they're still the best team in the league, and it's, you know, that's why I just said I gave 6 top 4 to 6 to give a range, right? Like that's still in there. Like I'm not as big on Tampa, to be honest, as other people, but they're up there. I don't find Buffalo that, you know what I mean? Like obviously I think Buffalo's the favorite to win the Super Bowl. But that's just because they're most likely to be a 1 seed.
Which
And
is a
I
huge,
think,
it's a huge advantage just because
especially
of the bye.
for Buffalo, I think. You know what I mean? So it's just one of the it's such a hard question to answer. I think Cleveland's the best coach team in the league, but it's hard to give them, you know, best team in the league moniker, right? Like I'm not as confident in them considering the quarterback play goes such a long way for me. It's the most important position in sports by an absolute mile. Gore. Sorry, is that no.
I'm wondering
Derek
if it's
Gore.
his kid.
I think it is his son. That's just so crazy, isn't it?
Just taking a look now. Derek Gore. He's a born in 94, 2019 free agent. So I don't know if it is.
It might be. You guys didn't even acknowledge a turnover. No, we didn't. It was like, it was as if, like, oh, Daniel Jones threw a pick. You know what I mean?
So Derek Gore's not related to Frank Gore.
Ah. Like I've seen the Chargers look like the best team in the league and pretty bad. So it at least it's exciting. There's parity, right? Unbelievable play. Unbelievable play.
So who is in coverage there? 20 is Julian Love, a safety. I kind of want to see the replay on this. Like, how are you supposed to cover Tyreek Hill at the back of the end zone if Mahomes gets that much time? Like, it's just impossible. They're in a zone. Anyways.
Holy smokes, man. Like, that's, see what I mean? Like, magic like that, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just not, it's not, that ceiling isn't achievable by very many players, right?
That's, that was pretty unlucky, Mud, because like Kelsey was wide open in the end zone.
I think what's another, you could make a case for the Rams right now, too. That's another team that's up there for me, obviously, and everyone else. I'm not sure how much the Von Miller acquisition is going to push. It's obviously helpful, though. Like those types of pass rushers, especially if you have to use them sparingly.
Even if they just bring in Von Miller to play third downs, it's going to make a difference on those plays.
Yeah, exactly. It might be better if they just do that. You know what I mean? Like,
CK has been on top of it. He predicted the touchdown, and he's third on the leaderboard this year in the BRFG contest. So congrats.
that's how you do it.
The Rams are definitely all in. Like trading 2 draft picks, a second and third for Von Miller is what I've been hearing. Like I'm surprised they got him for that, but at the same time, like it is a lot to give up. Because
Well,
I don't know
think it's
enough
that
about his
much.
contract. Like I'm guessing this is his last year.
Yeah, and his age too. It's not like, you know what I mean? You're not getting a 29-year-old man, right? You're 27. You're not getting like that guy.
Yeah,
What's Von Miller? 34.
He's 32. He's going to be
32?
33. He's like 32 and a half, if that matters. But yeah, been in the league since 2011, so it's his 10th year.
Yeah, and he's played like he's played some pretty heavy snaps. Let's be real. What's that?
He didn't play last year.
No.
What did he have, like an ACL type injury?
I think so. I can't remember. My Rolodex sucks now. It used to be so good. Now it's just terrible.
Well, I'm looking here on Pro Football Reference. They have a lot of options that you can check, but I'm trying to see if they have injury info on here. Doesn't look like it. Injuries are kind of a hard thing to track. Oh, it looks like Von Miller was inactive for the Washington Denver game, so this trade was probably in talks
Yeah.
for a few days. I didn't realize that he was inactive.
Hard to double team Donald with Miller on the edge. That's a good point. You're gonna get one-on-ones for, I guess, Floyd. This probably gives Floyd a really good opportunity. Leonard Floyd, because he had, like, how could, if they're all three playing, like, that's the last guy you're gonna double, I would imagine.
Oh, Daniel Jones trying to go quick at the line here, doing some sort of like guitar audible.
He's playing the sitar. It's been like a joke I've used a few times in the last couple of days. I don't know why I've heard guitar in the last few days, but one of the Halloween costumes I saw last night.
Yeah, definitely a lot of variance mud with those touchdown props. CK said, I was actually 2 minutes behind on Daz and paused it to get a drink for the kids. Nice. Especially considering Denver is paying his salary this year. Good deal for the Rams. That's pretty nice as well. Hard to double team Donald with Miller on the edge. CK said, I feel great. I'm up 10 points in fantasy with D. Williams, and they got no one left. I'm about to make them 0-8. Nice. John Ross is still in the league. That's a very good point.
He got a touchdown. He has one long touchdown this year. I hate this Giants team so much. Like, I actually hate them. It's a strong word, and I mean it. Their coach just reminds me of, like, you know, the dad at soccer that just claps his hands and yells hustle, and then, like, telling other kids that aren't his, like, you know, you gotta hustle.
Yeah. I always find it very strange, the parents that yell at kids on the field, like, especially the ones that, like, you can clearly tell they don't know what's going on. I don't know, it's special to me. I'm sorry if you're in chat and you're like that, but I just find that very strange.
Well, I mean, I could say stuff about that, but then look at my father.
Yeah, but your father at least knows what he's talking about. So it's like,
yeah, that is true.
I don't care if you're educated and like pretty knowledgeable about the sport and how to play. Yeah, if you're yelling something, it probably means something. I'm talking about people that are like completely clueless yelling.
I got to be honest though. Okay, there's this, if you're a soccer coach in Canada and you're European, you have this air of invincibility, right?
Yeah.
Like that guy knows what he's talking about. He's from Europe.
Well, I remember, like, we didn't have a coach, like, when we became adults and we're still playing together. And then, I don't know, some genius on our team thought it was great to bring in this guy to coach, and it was this Scottish guy. And oh my God, that guy was terrible. He had no clue what he was talking about.
You know who did a great job coaching our team?
You.
Me, of all people.
Yeah, well, that's not surprise. Like, you know.
Well, I actually liked it, and I didn't even know I'd be so much softer than my dad. Like,
yeah, it's, you know, you do everything you can not to be like your parents. You screw people up in different ways. The Jackson said, I remember when the Bengals drafted him top 10 just because he was really fast. Yeah, John Ross.
That's more or less what happened. Yeah. Well, he was on the radar for first round, but not that high. So
I like what Jay said here. Really happy for the possibility for a Stafford Super Bowl, but remember the Eagles' dream team? Well, didn't they call themselves the dream team like in the off season, like before games had even started?
They did.
it's a little different when when you're actually getting it done. And I don't think I've heard anyone in the Rams call themselves something similar. When are we going to get to see this Monday Night Football graphic? It's pretty much keeps me going.
Did they do Halloween or like is that?
Well, which player do you think it's going to be on, or coach or team? I'm hoping I hope it's the Giants coaching staff, and they really make a mockery.
That I wouldn't mind. Will JJ Watt be back this year? Well, your Roto World interpretation is as good as mine. Nice play. I like names that start with an X. You get the Xavier. That's always a fun one. Zimenez, though, I like that.
Yeah. Well, then there's Chavi. I would definitely not say it that way if I saw
Chavi
it
Alonso
spelled.
as well.
Yeah.
I never liked Chavi. The guy couldn't shoot from 20 yards out. But just pass the ball around till the other team gets tired. Now Chavi Alonso, that guy could rip it from 45. I like that. Always a threat. Man, it's so weird to think like, you know what? Tyreek Hill is the receiver that the Bengals assumed John Ross was. Well, he's fast. He could just do it just like that. Obviously John Ross got drafted before him, but in their minds, it's probably how excited they were in the draft room.
Well, that's why I get what the combine's all about, but I really hate looking at combine numbers and like pulling it to what's going to happen. Like, you just can't measure,
Dude, that was a great play by 65 without committing a penalty. It's that block. Von Miller dropped a really cool video reflecting on his time in Denver. I mean, he's 10 years in a city. You'd have some sort of attachment, I would imagine.
Maybe like at least football wise, probably like the most beloved player over the last 10 years too.
In Denver?
I think so.
Yeah, perhaps.
I don't think it's Peyton Manning despite the Super Bowl.
No, it's Brock Osweiler.
I'm a little bit under the weather, but I'll get through it. The back to my point, I can't even remember what I was talking about now. But the combine. Just like the combine, like I just hate like the fastest guy is going to be good. Like it makes no sense. And they always do that with running backs. Like how many running backs have they been like, oh, this guy doesn't have breakaway speed? It's like, oh, Nick Chubb's not going to be great because
That's our favorite.
Can't have the breakaway
I like
speed.
Running backs that don't have breakaway speed.
Because
I think it's better for win probability when they get those hard 5.
Well, they're just usually better all around. Like,
okay, I also most bang for your buck running back I can remember is Alfred Morris. 5 yards almost every time. Never got more than 20 or 25. Didn't matter. It was awesome.
He was actually the perfect example because I think he ran like a 4.7 40, which is like very slow for a running back.
He did, yeah.
But then I remember they had part of those next gen stats. They had they were able to measure the speed that the running back ran through the hole with.
Hit the hole, yeah.
Yeah, and he was the fastest out of all of them, which like how telling is that? Yeah. When you measure off the field, you measure as the slowest, but then in game, like the guy was just fearless and ran, essentially at his top speed through the hole.
He ran 4.63.
Jackson talking about Von Miller said he's definitely going to move back after he retires and open up a dispensary. Josh Allen said he mentioned a second tenure in Denver, and he brought up how Shannon Sharp did it. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, depending on like the team and the coaching staff and the general manager stuff, but like, I'm sure like if he wants like a 1 year last hurrah, like they'll bring him in as long as he's completely not washed up or hurt to the point where he can't play. Mickey highlighting how Alfred Morris was straight up the field. Yeah, untouchable. Eagles do it every draft. Let's get the fastest dude. Well, who made that popular? I always hear Al Davis was the guy.
Al Davis, Raiders.
Who did that.
Well, because he drafted Darius Hayward-Bay, who actually became a serviceable receiver, never up to his first round status, but he was in the league for 10 years, and he was just a guy that like ran really, really, really fast. Like, but didn't have very little tangible skills, but they developed over time. I think he was a kick returner for a while, relegated to it. He drafted a corner too. I think I can't remember which one.
There's always like a few guys that come to mind, like Keenan Allen. Like Keenan Allen is a terrific receiver, but I'm pretty sure he didn't like test super well in the combine.
No.
I want to say Terry McLaurin, but Terry McLaurin is pretty damn fast. Like he had a pretty good 40. I think he was like 4.3 40 guy, which is pretty impressive.
Okay, the guys were Philip Buchanan, Fabian Washington, and Michael Huff. I'm pretty sure those guys were really fast. Philip Buchanan was really fast, I think.
If I'm thinking of the right guy, I'm pretty sure that was a staple in NFL Street.
Yeah, Philip Buchanan, he would have totally been.
You always want what you can't have, Jay. That's really what it comes down to. It looked like Chris Jones jumped early, but I don't see any flags, so. They didn't call that? Oh my goodness. He was in the backfield before the ball was, and he was lined up under center or over
Philip
center.
Buchanan ran a 4.31 in 02.
That's
like
pretty fast.
Dude, that's pretty fast.
Where's this Kansas City D been all year, Mickey? It's this exact same thing with Seattle, right? Like Seattle's defense all of a sudden started showing up 2 weeks ago? But there's so much more like variance with defensive performances. And it's also like, it's the thing you got to say when you're leaving, you have to be like, yeah, I'm coming back. Like, you know, whether he does or not, it's, you know, it's
He's
just
probably got business and stuff in Denver, and like, I don't know. You want to keep those bridges alive, right?
yeah.
Because like, I'm pretty sure life comes at you fast when, like the NFL paycheck stops. You know what I mean? Like, you're probably like, oh, geez, like I'm on my own now. So I would imagine you want to keep as many bridges open. I mean, sure, he's probably made enough money for generations, but who knows if he's kept it. That was pass interference, and he still caught it. and John Ross of all players. That was total PI though.
This is another thing too. It's like they drafted John Ross to be super fast, but they just ran down the field and they literally had to stand still for like a good second and a half waiting for the ball to get there.
I can't believe he caught that. That was pretty lucky and good, I guess. Yeah, the Giants put a lot of... That was a fun play. See, this is a team that should be doing this stuff to try and win.
Yeah, definitely. Who threw that? Kadarius Toney?
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney looked very, very good with the ball in his hands.
That wasn't the greatest ball, but like it worked.
Yeah.
Because I think he had the option. It was like a run pass option.
It looked like it. Those ones are tough because the lineman can't get down too far down the field.
Yeah. Nice run.
I watched a YouTube clip and it was Jalen Ramsey film study, and he said something super interesting. I'll say it after this play.
That was good. That was good. He got 3 yards.
So one of the things that he said he looks for, because they talk about like how much you study on players or quarterbacks and that kind of stuff, and he said that he goes to the extent that he'll study how receivers break from the huddle to see like if there's a difference between on plays where they don't get the ball and when they do get the ball, which I found super interesting. And just tells. I know that Antonio Brown always had that tell where he would play with his gloves. I don't know if he still does it, but he used to play with his gloves before every catch, so you'd know when he was getting the ball. Something that Chris Collingsworth pointed out one game. And I don't know. I just found it super interesting. And Ramsey was even talking about like he essentially said there's like times where he makes like his own audible and does stuff differently, and like they were pointing at times when it worked out, times when it didn't. It was interesting to watch.
I have a question about that though. So if a guy's not getting the ball, are you going to play like, wouldn't that only work in zone? Like, don't you want to play your man as hard as possible anyways?
Well, they also showed that like if he's not matched up against like the best guy on the other team, he like doesn't even take it seriously.
Well, that's like ridiculous.
But it's like another thing, because if he's matched up against like, you know, one of your worst players, like one of your worst skill position options, that obviously means that, not obviously, but it means that they're probably trying to take advantage of a different matchup on the field. So he essentially takes those plays off. I know Sherman, I talked about Sherman a few weeks ago, because he used to complain that they would bring in guys and just run him down the field, like essentially to tire him out, and then they'd bring out like, you know, the real guy to get stuff done against him.
Well, it's just sports.
Mr. Mister said the Bengals just sat around and let the Jets score. Well, I guess that's what ended up happening. Mickey said Giants suck, but their O has been respectable. Jackson said he had so many injury concerns coming out of college. I have no idea how the Bengals didn't see it. And then Mickey said some receivers only look at their play cards on their wrist on pass plays.
That I believe.
Yeah. And that's like, it's just crazy to think how many things some of these players do to give themselves like a worse chance at winning.
If it were that transparent though, couldn't you just tell your team like zero or like some sort of like zero blitz, like cover all the angles and just crash the line on a run?
Well, it's like they should have like body language experts that study this type of stuff, because you could probably tell a lot by like body language from certain players.
I gotta say this, and I say it every weekend. I probably saw at least 10 fades or outs or some form of that pass play at near the goal line, and I didn't see one work. The entire, like, maybe the Braxton Berrios, if you're gonna give it on the Jets. Why is running such a novel concept at the goal line?
Well, here's a wild play. They have a very obvious one-on-one. Oh my goodness.
You have to go for this.
The Giants offense, like some of these plays feel very, very like slow to happen. Like it feels like the Chiefs Mahomes gets the ball out so quickly and they're into like the skill position player's hand to get it done. It feels very it doesn't feel professional from the Giants, let's put it that way.
They're being coached by Gene Hackman in the replacements.
It looks like they're going for it on fourth down, so at least this is a good decision.
It's a positive for me.
And now they're going to decide to
God,
possibly run the ball.
Now they're getting commended for no hesitation thinking about a kick.
I agree. Not. I agree. I think that's good.
It's like, I don't know. I'm just so negative about the Giants. They do something right, and then gold stars on the page. It should be status quo.
Well, there's good and bad. There's things that you've seen that you don't like. That was a good thing. Let's be honest.
Yeah, the decision that's the most positive thing I've seen from the Giants. At least I can remember. I think they've done this more than one time, though. I think they were that aggressive against the Saints, and then conveniently that was their win, right?
It's also tough because it's weird how all of a sudden you play a team like the Chiefs and you make good decisions, and then you just go back to making bad decisions against most other teams.
Yeah.
They highlighted another thing I saw over the weekend. I forget which broadcast had it, nor does it matter. But they were talking about this is the record number of like 1-score finishes and 21 plus score finishes, like win margin finishes ever through the first 7 weeks. So it just shows you that like it's either like a one possession game or teams are getting blown out. And a lot of that would have to do with if you are playing, like if you are being more aggressive on fourth down and going for it more often, like that's what's going to happen, right?
Polarizing results, yeah.
Yeah, like either it should be very close and you almost pull off the comeback, or you do, or you lose by a lot. Like, what's the point of losing by 10 every week? It makes no difference. Like, you might as well go balls to the wall and try to win every game. But that's also brings up a good point about like money lines or betting big favorites. Like, it brings up some interesting changes.
I think the big favorite is more viable, and laying the big points is more viable now than ever, even though that's not my style. And I also think the big dog money line is more viable.
Yeah.
Like even the Jags, who are just putrid, and I always say no one's as bad as you think they are. I mean, I think the Jags are pretty bad. They went for it. They tried to come back in the game. It's not the way I would have done it, but you know what I mean? I'm also not an NFL coach. I'm just some Canadian guy. But the decision-making was to try and get themselves back in the game, right? Yeah. It didn't work out, but like I can respect that.
Jackson said, Mick, that's the NFL equivalent of my middle school team shouting the play to each other at the line of scrimmage.
I bet the Jags this week, what are they, 14.5-point underdogs against the Bills? I bet the Bills early line, so I hope you got 14.5. I like 13.5 with the Bills, so. These are quick possessions, Big Rye.
Yeah, they're what was that, a 3-and-out for Kansas City? And Mahomes almost threw an interception. Like, well, he essentially did throw one. It just wasn't caught.
Oh my goodness. Good try, 85. He went for it. Good try.
Giants pretty fortunate there.
Oh, so close.
Dante Pettis, former draft pick of the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, right. Remember he was WR1 for a little bit?
Yeah, it was short-lived.
Silver hair. You had his Tiger Beat layout on your ceiling pinned up.
Oh, yeah, he's beautiful. Mr. Mister said, very shady stuff happening on primetime games lately. I won't bet Monday, Thursday, or Sunday night games anymore.
I'd love to believe the conspiracy theories. It's just, I can't. Like, to get this many people to, you know what I mean? Even the reffing staff, to get them to all corroborate, it just seems too outlandish to me.
Josh Allen said, taking the Jag. Zab said, where are we on tonight, fellas? Only hockey for me, Chicago and Seattle plus 205. What am I on tonight? I have to double check and see. I'm only on Denver Nuggets plus 1.5. So I don't know how that game's going.
I got even money on both sides, Zap, so I'm free rolling. Just I don't want Kansas City to win by 10. That would be slightly bad.
Nuggets are only at halftime, so it's hard to say.
Means nothing.
Boston 2.5 and Atlanta 5.5. I was going to take Chicago, so I was going to be on the opposite side of that Boston play, but I didn't bet in time, so I just left it.
Is Boston still, or sorry, is are the Bulls undefeated still?
I have no clue. I know they were one of the top bet teams according to the NBA betting market data as far as the percentage of bets, which I was surprised by, but also I don't know if I should be. Like, they might be. I've heard a lot of hype around the Bulls.
Well, when you go on a streak, right, like that's gonna happen.
Bulls are 5-1. Nell says Kansas City 1-10. So I think things are looking good so far. I think live line is 6.5.
Oh, they lost to the Knicks. Okay. I'm so out of touch with like the public perception of basketball. Not that I know anything about basketball, so it's like hard for me to even think about how people think about games. Football is easy because I just, bartending one day a week for many years has actually helped a lot, because people would come and talk to me about football, and they thought that they were learning from me. I was just trying to get them to talk more because I was curious what they found interesting, like every demographic, and I was curious if they bet and how much.
Mr. Mister, that's what it kind of has felt like for us. Like, ever since we started doing these live streams, and our whole thing is being contrarian, like, it feels like these primetime games have won a lot more, like with that contrarian style. But really what it comes down to is that these games are just bet more, and whatever that means as far as betting more and what the books actually set the price at, or where the market settles, like, you just probably have a bit more advantage being contrarian in these larger bet games. But that's what we find so interesting and love studying this type of stuff. I keep forgetting to mention this, but Oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
I'm gonna thank Mister. How much more efficient are the betting markets for the primetime games because of volume?
Or inefficient, really. Like,
Or
if it's
I guess, yeah.
like, how much do they have to juice up prices? Do they juice them up at all? Does it even matter?
Is it yeah. Is it more because of the volume and the exposure? There's a lot of questions there. I didn't even think about, like, we always know like little differences, but I never thought about grouping them as a large data set, because it's pretty tough to get a large data set, really, because you're only relegated to 3 games a week, right? Sometimes 4.
But another one of those tells, I forget, it was one of these old, really successful defensive linemen, but he essentially said that he could tell if they were running the ball or passing the ball by when he got to the line of scrimmage. If they were running the ball, the offense would have their knuckles in the ground. And if they were passing the ball, the offensive linemen would have their fingers in the ground like this, compared to like this, which I always found super interesting as well. So I wonder how these guys get like coached up to deal with like pre-snap stuff, and if there are, like, I always know they talked about Peyton Manning tried to keep the his play fakes the same, whether he was throwing or passing or handing the ball off or going to throw it on play action, which I found interesting because I said, like, who really cares about that stuff? But I'm sure there were safeties in the league, corners in the league that were watching for that kind of stuff. Or linebackers, probably most importantly, because they're trying to figure out if the ball's going to be hand off or not.
No, hold on. I got to cover a couple ones here. Jags against the Bengals cover. Eagles against the Bucks do a 2-point conversion last 3 minutes cover. That's true. Packers without Adams cover. Cowboys without Dak cover. Let's see the Giants cover here. Yeah, but think about it. Like, that is all true and all unlikely stuff. But like, that's still a sample of what, like 4 there. You know what I mean? Oh, Don, how are you?
What's going on, Don?
We got a question for you from our Irish friend.
Yeah, the NHL markets are not fixed, but I know how to fix them. It's really about me getting the time to sit down and actually fix it. So hopefully I'll be able to do that in the next day or two, and then I'll have all 3 markets good to go. Yeah, no problem. It's going to be super, super helpful for all of us once I'm able to get it all figured out.
What, did you see that pass?
Yeah, that sidearm throw.
Man.
Nels Gaming, I know you guys love getting points. Have you touched the big spreads the last couple weeks? I did. I took the Rams, and it was what I thought was pretty unfortunate because they were up 38-0, and I turned the game off, and I had the worst of the prices that I saw, at least at 17, and they ended up winning by 16. So I lost out there. But like Fat Guy and we're not really looking out for those big spreads. Like that's not something that's like enticing us each week.
If it gets big enough, though, it's kind of like there was a time when the Buccaneers and the Jags were really bad, and they had spreads of like 24 and 28, and I think we took both of those games. Like it'll get to a point where like that's just too much for an NFL game.
Eric, what's going on? Eric, my wagering question of the night is, are you better off now taking Kansas City future to win AFC at 7-1 or waiting for playoffs and money lining them, letting it ride?
I have an opinion of that.
Well, let's hear your opinion, because like the math it's very, very, very complicated. So I can't get into the math.
The juice on those markets is bad, and also too the loss of opportunity costs betting on those markets is also bad. So I wouldn't do it unless the only reason you should do it is if you have a limited bankroll and you bet for entertainment and you want to get the most out of your entertainment budget, because following weekly on one bet is a lot cheaper than betting week to week.
That's a Fat Guy with an excellent answer. And as far as like positive expected value, like, to be honest, it's probably negative on both, so it's probably not worth betting either one.
Yes. You're talking about two of the most juiced markets in sports, right? And also, too, the juice isn't distributed evenly, right? That's an interception. Oh, man.
I hate them blowing these plays down.
I hate it.
Unless they know for sure it wasn't caught.
Oh, it hit the ground, yeah.
So, good call. College football, 244 spread wagers, minus 5% ROI. NFL 68, 9% ROI. That's awesome, Zaps. It's not enough people actually track their records and know. Like, there's so many people that are out there telling you to hammer this or this is a 5-star lock. Like, actually doing it yourself, using proper bankroll management and tracking that stuff is so important.
Or getting your hands dirty with a Google Sheet, you know what I mean, or Excel, right? Like, it's you can. Everyone talks a big game. Few people actually do it.
Yeah,
that's why it's the best part of, like, I've heard whenever, and I guess we do it too, right? Like, even if you really show people how to win, the chances of people actually doing it is quite low, oddly enough.
What you thinking, Chiefs or Giants? Well, Chiefs are favored. I don't have any wagers tonight. Fat Guy's got split wagers. Not that he really cares either side. There was someone else in our Discord that had Miami as well, so they weren't happy about that 15. Jackson said, we excited for the awkward Deshaun Watson game this week. 5-star entertainment in my book. Ending of the Rams game was wild. Mickey said he wouldn't call it. Wild wasn't what I was thinking. Wow. But that's the risk, right? When you take a spread that high, like 17, is the backdoor cover is even more likely. I think it was just unfortunate because they were up. They had to give up 21 points in the fourth quarter for it to happen. 22. That's why I turned it off. Well, 21 for a push, 22 to cover, and they managed to hit that 22 number, which was it's just very unfortunate. But honestly, it was the right decision for them to make, to go for 2 there, because then they're down 16. Then it's a 2-score game. It's better to be down 16 than 17.
Yeah.
These are things with,
absolutely.
like, there's certain key numbers that, like, should mean more, and unfortunately that was one of those cases. But even, like, there could have been that miraculous comeback and they could have failed their 2-point conversion, and then it would have been an 18-point game, and everyone on the Rams side would have covered. but it's one result. It's one result of millions that we're all going to make betting. A lot of 4-point spreads ended in 3-point wins this year. I'd have to double check and see what it says based off of all the numbers. What is your go-to meal when you order Chinese takeout? I'm so sick of chicken, lo mein, or chow mein. I need a new choice. Help a brother
Sweet
out.
and sour pork. Nice run.
I do like sweet and sour pork. I find that it can depend on the
You
pork.
can't ever
the
leave.
sauce,
You have
so.
to eat it all in the one instance, though. It doesn't keep. It's like, French fries don't keep. Even with the air fryer, they still don't. This is a nice run. This should be an easy touchdown.
That puts the Chiefs up 6.
Eric, to go back to you, if people are claiming 65% victories on teasers, they might as well just put up a "we lose money here" sign. like, you know what I mean? If they already aren't doing that,
Well, this is the thing. It's like it's technically true, but they're probably losing money. So it's like you can, if Fat Guy and I wanted to make all our spreads magical spreads where the home team is given 46 points every game, we could go 100% against the spread. Maybe 99. There's going to be that one where we end up losing eventually, but it's a shame that people come to those channels and watch those videos and go, "Oh, this is great. I'm going to do this too," because you're just losing money.
Next year might be the year where we pull some of the curtain back and actually do it. Like, not actually do it ourselves. We'll actually do it ourselves, but show everybody, some of the methodology, right? So that might be a thing, right? So, and the thing about that though, which I don't like, is when you win lots, everyone thinks you're a genius. Like me and Big Rye were hitting at like 59% one year, and then we're getting comments like, "You guys think you could push it to 65?" And we're like, "No, it's probably gonna come down, right?" Yeah. And then there's also the times when we're batting below 40, we're batting at 47, and then we're just idiots. Like, it's just none of that is accurate of what that means. You know what I mean? It's I don't know how to put it. People don't understand natural probability enough to make it like a proper impression of how things are supposed to be, right? Like, and the survivorship bias is one of the biggest things. Like, if a guy hits at a really high number, everyone will just believe that guy, when in reality he's probably going to regress to the mean, whereas like the guy who's doing really horribly is probably going to progress to the mean. It's like natural probability is just really hard to understand for humans. We're really bad at it, and I like to think I have a good grasp on it, but that's only after honestly 25 years of conditioning. My whole life has been around games and probability, right? And I still think I have a very compared to a computer, I think I have a horrible take on natural probabilities. But compared to the standard human, yeah, I have, I would say, much higher, but that's because I've been conditioned to it. I also know how to run a washing machine. I've never done it before, right? Like, it's just what you put your time to, anybody. So
I don't personally bet team totals. Fat Guy, do you ever bet team totals?
No, because I don't think I have an edge in it. Is it possible? It's a derivative market. I would imagine that there is a leeway to make money on it. And Mr. There's something interesting about that when there's really bad juice. That means there's usually opportunity. When I look for weird stuff, I look for really bad juice first, because that tells me that if the book has a low limit and really high juice, The way to combat low limit is easy. Just have multiple accounts. How do you do that? Well, you better have a lot of family members that like you. That's number one. And believe me, I have for promotion. So number two, though, is if the book has low limits and high juice, what does that tell you about the confidence in their numbers? It means they don't have any. Whereas, like, think of baseball, closing line baseball. You can bet enormous amounts of money and the juice is tiny. What does that tell you? That means they are so certain in their line. I don't want to mess around with those lines. Because like, even if you could, for instance, I always use as an example. I think baseball. I don't know anything about baseball, but I think baseball betting markets are just amazing microcosms of like a perfect free market, if you could even call it that, right? Like the numbers are just so good. Beating long-term baseball is almost impossible, right? So I try and find the opposite of that baseball market because it's so efficient. Because the opposite of a baseball market would have to be a severely inefficient market. So that means high juice, low limits, right? So I specifically look for those things in my spare time, which I don't have a lot of right now, but it will open up. I'm going to say around July next year, Big Rye, or maybe not.
Right. Have a good night, Eric. Seahawks fan has a question about, do we think if the Chiefs win comfortably tonight, are there more bets on the Packers or the Chiefs? I'd say it's going to be pretty split evenly, unless it should be split evenly as long as
the number is, right?
Yeah, like as long as the price, like the line essentially, like if it's like this game and it's Chiefs -10, yeah, everyone's going to bet the Packers. But if it's at 2.5, 3, I think it's going to be pretty split evenly. They're
2.5, 3, I think.
They're the two highest bet teams percentage wise. So lots of people are going to bet these two teams, and it's going to be split pretty evenly.
Public will love the Packers. I think they're more likely to, right? Like the Packers beat Arizona on prime time, and that's going to go a longer way in terms of recency bias, right? Like the Chiefs busting up the Giants. Is there anyone that goes, wow, they're back? You know what I mean? It's expected. And busting up any NFL team is difficult, but the public takes those results for granted. Whereas like Green Bay pulling off a very difficult injury, COVID struck team result against an undefeated Cardinals on the road, that's going to go a further way. So I tend to agree with you there. And especially too, when you think about how like a Joe thinks, he goes, oh man, they beat the Cardinals without Davante Adams. Imagine what they're going to do when he comes back. In reality, it's like a 1% addition, right? Like, not that I'm saying Davante Adams is possibly the best receiver in the league, but like it doesn't make you the Super Bowl favorites, like bringing him back. You know what I mean? Oh, that was a night. Jones got hit in the face too. This is going to be 15 yards on top of it. Jones got hit in the face.
Untouchable Jay just shared on the Discord that 88% of early bets are on Packers. But also that could be like Fat Guy mentions in the picks videos, is that the Chiefs are currently playing. So if there is a Mahomes injury and you can get the Packers plus 2.5 and Mahomes somehow there's a small chance he gets hurt, like what's Green Bay? What's the line for Green Bay if Mahomes is hurt? Like Green Bay -6.5.
Are they home or on the road?
In Kansas City.
-5, 4.5.
I think it's even higher.
It might be even higher. Yeah, it's
just
Mahomes
because the
too.
defense is so bad.
-6.5
without Mahomes, like
yeah, it might. It's not conventional. It's Mahomes. -7 might even be right.
What's
A
the
full
number
10
you put it at
points?
where you get even bets on both sides? Like if it's Green Bay -10, most people are probably betting the Chiefs. If it's Green Bay -7.5, people are probably betting
I'm taking the
Chiefs. Where would you struggle?
5.5 and 6. 6 has got to be it. 6 is the number.
Green Bay -6, I think is.
Yeah, there it is.
I agree. But that's crazy, right? Like 6 to 2.5. What are you passing? You're You're really
Just
only
three,
passing
really.
like 2 or 3 key numbers, like 2.5, I guess, because
Yeah,
6 is
six
a
is
push.
the push. I want the 6.5. I like barely am gonna take Kansas City. 5.5. I think I just take Green Bay. Yeah, 6 is it.
Oh, Nell said Green Bay played them a couple of years ago in Kansas City, and the backup was in, but he forgets the spread. The only thing is like the
Different
teams
teams.
even from a few years ago, it's not going to quite line up. Yeah, Miami, Houston are two of the least bet teams. I also think that spread is way too high. Like 7 just seems like a lot of points.
If Tyrod Taylor comes, I already bet them on the look ahead. So
I almost feel like the book thinks that Tyrod Taylor isn't going to be playing if that line's set at 7, but it's tough, right? Like, this sounds so ridiculous, but you almost feel bad for the books when they have to set a line when it's uncertain, like if a player like Mahomes is going to play or not. But
you
I
know
guess
what though? They have 2 options, right? Like they can take it off the board, or they can man up and use their excess of data and player pool and put a line that is probability weighted to a player's actual like there's going to be guys. Think about this: if you're a guy, a sports book, and you accept winning players, you're going to have guys that are early to the beat on injuries all the time, right? Like, why not just put out a line that's low limit, see if that guy bet it or not, and then there you go.
Tyrod Taylor is day-to-day still, so.
Yeah, day-to-day is pretty good, though, like, in terms of playing.
This play is just terrible. Like, you run a 3-yard out when you're 3rd and, 6, whatever it was.
It's great leaving all this time on the clock for the arguably the best offense.
And then it's 4th and 2, and they immediately put the field goal team out. What's so different here compared to the other time where, like, all of a sudden now it's not worth going for? Can you guys explain the difference? Like, I'm going to pull up that 4th down bot just to see what this meant. Bulls have pulled to within 3. Nice. Okay. So what was the play earlier? Or the Giants?
4th and 1. Okay, there you go. Strong go for it. Excellent.
So this was a difference. This one here was a 4% difference in win probability. 4th and 1 from the opponent's 1. Let's see what the new one is once it gets loaded in here.
Mickey just said something very quotable. If you have a negative EV coach, you're better off not having a coach. That's actually true. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's certainly we're just putting decision making into it. I love it. This is I'm more interested in this stuff than anything because player stuff is just micro calculated. I feel like in the NFL, this decision making isn't. It's different.
It was the exact same. So the exact same difference here, 17 to 13% off that. And yeah, they didn't they made the wrong decision here. I'm very confused because those are very like, it's almost even the percentages say it's the exact same percentage. And the one they were so quick to go for it, and this one they were so quick not to go for it. I have no clue what drives these decisions. Bizarre. It's just bizarre. And I agree, Mickey. Like there still is more to coaching than just these decisions, but I know what you mean.
The Stranger Things graphic.
Oh, and I missed it. I was looking at the fourth down stuff. It doesn't matter.
Do you watch
There's
Stranger
always-
Things?
Yeah, I like it. It's a good show.
You missed something that was tailored for you.
Yeah. Last time something was tailored for me, I had to pay $20.
Same as downtown. These throws seem more dangerous right now.
Yeah.
For whatever
That was
reason.
almost like it almost seemed like a good defensive play, because if Hill doesn't knock that down, I don't know if if the safety or whoever's behind there was lined up for that, but
Was thinking the same thing.
Julian Love jammed Kelsey, and it absolutely destroyed that play. We're going to get to see the replay here. What an awesome play by Julian Love.
I assumed Big Rye just watched Larry King reruns. I think he did. I think he did. Ooh, intentional grounding. We got one.
So not only, like, Julian Love messes him up on that play, but then Mahomes panicked and just threw it wherever. I prefer Larry King's new stuff.
Is he dead?
Yeah.
Oh,
Is it too soon?
When's it too soon? I'm a lot more unsympathetic these days.
I wouldn't say so. You've always been unsympathetic.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's worse lately somehow.
You guys want to
free
know?
Play.
That is a free play.
That's how you do a free play, though, by the way.
You guys want to know the most sympathetic I've ever seen the fat guy is when I brought up the financial standings of Larry Ernest Blackman, who was the lead singer of
I could have
Cameo.
told you.
I know you could have told me, but it wouldn't have been the same.
It wouldn't have been the same. Yeah, that's true. I was upset that he only had $200,000 for a guy who's brought you such hits as Word Up and Candy. He only had 200 grand. I just didn't feel right.
Yeah, $400,000.
I'm still crushed. 400 grand. I don't have any hits. You know what I mean? Like, come on. The guy who made the cod piece fashionable again.
Mr. Mister said, I wonder if Michael Thomas and Taysom Hill come back for Saints, that 6 will jump real quick.
Assuming that Winston plays. Taysom Hill is an interesting one. I wish I would have paid attention to how much he's worth win probability wise.
It's funny because I don't even know if they would go back. Like, I don't even know if Taysom Hill would be the full-time quarterback over Simeon. And that might be a crazy thing to say, but like, I actually don't know. Winston's played pretty well this year, but is there even that much of a drop-off between him and Simeon? Like, I think there is a drop-off. I just don't know how much.
Oh, there is.
And then Michael Thomas, like, he hasn't played and hasn't been relevant for so long. Does the public even still think of Michael Thomas as Michael Thomas?
That's a good question, too.
And then also, I don't even know what Taysom Hill's injury is that he's coming back from. Like, will that hamper him at all? I don't know what his injury actually is.
I'm trying to think of things that would move the line for me.
Mr. Mister said he thinks that Thomas has more weight than the quarterback.
I don't think so
Yeah, I disagree
at
too.
all. At
But
all.
I'll say this: if Michael Thomas is at the peak, like the peak of his production and peak of his stuff, like maybe worth a point. Maybe.
I don't think so. I don't think that much. And also too, like, I will say this though, we have negative biases towards receivers, so chances are we're off a bit. I just can't recalibrate. Like, I find receivers to be increasingly useless the more I at least the more I think and learn about this game. I like that. I like that. That was an arm punt. Julian Love making plays, eh?
Yeah, he's been noticeable for good reasons a few times. I don't even know what receiver that is, 17.
Hardman? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
McCole, not my favorite name. Then there's Michael Pruitt. What's the flag for?
Oh man.
Did he wave for?
I guess so, but like that third shot was the cheapest out of all of them, and it's like, what are they going to do? Throw a second flag?
They could. Oh, he hit him with the head. It's a defenseless player. Well, okay. I didn't like that Sean Kemp's kid. That explanation by the commentator. So what do? The guy who's catching the ball, if he doesn't wave, is always defenseless. So how do you broach the subject if he's defenseless? You know what I mean? Like, do you stop and wait?
Yeah, that's not to me. That's not a defensive player or defenseless because you can call for the fair catch.
Yes, like, you're willfully.
That is your
doing
defense.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had a big issue with a play call. The only issue I've had this year as far as play calls go, and there was a play where I think it was in the Tennessee Indy game, and they wrapped up a running back, and they wrapped him up like behind the line of scrimmage, but the running back just stayed on his feet and kept fighting, and they didn't blow the whistle. And one of the I think it was Jeffrey Simmons, the lineman from Tennessee, just absolutely came in and just like laid the hammer. Like he hit him as hard as he could, and the play was still live. Like, but they threw the flag and called a necessary roughness. But I had major issue because like if there's forward progress and you're blowing the call down, like blow the call down. But if you're gonna let them like fight and like continue to fight
that's
to get
the
out of the
consequence
tackle,
for it.
Exactly. So I don't get why they threw the flag on that play, because that play just was like, I don't know what you're supposed to do as a defender. Like, and then they said like, oh, he should have known. He should have known, blah, blah, blah. It's like you play to the end of the whistle. And it wasn't like one of the ones where it's like he steps out of bounds and he gets rocked. Like, this was live in play. If he breaks the tackles and goes, like, it could be the difference between them winning or losing. Like, it was I had major issue with the play.
They do that all the time. Like, it's just the defense gets screwed over every year over and over. Feels so bad for them. And like, it's like kind of like that saying, like with Cam Newton, he goes, I don't feel safe in quarterback position. You shouldn't. You get paid of the top 0.0001% in the world with an added risk, right? There's a reason underwater welders get paid so much, is because there is a risk of dying. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing in the world, but there is risk to the job.
I didn't see the Robbie Anderson hit.
No, me neither.
Wow, that's quite the fourth quarter for the Bulls. I don't know if I'm just not getting an updated score, but it's still showing like 3 minutes left in that game. So Bulls are up 6, which is nice, but there's still a lot can happen in 3 minutes of basketball. I'll try to pull it up so I could see it for myself.
Response so far today from.
Can't believe Steelers are back in the playoff hunt. Cincinnati probably lose to Cleveland this week. I like Cleveland this week, and I don't know. Steelers have, for me, have been a team that I think is unjustly underrated. Like, I don't like the stupid storylines. Like, oh, Big Ben, he's done. What do you mean he's done? He's like the 18th best quarterback in the league. That's 16th maybe. You could go as high as 12, I'm sure, on someone's rating, like, or maybe 10th even, right? Like, it's somewhere in that 10 to 18 range. That's still enough. You know what I mean? Like their roster isn't horrible. They have a good defense. You know, offensive line, I would like some improvement there, you know.
The
I'm loading up this hit.
Yeah, I shared it on Discord. According to NEA, Roethlisberger is the 24th best quarterback this year. But also, like, let me just pull this out of the way.
Oh, my goodness. That hit was brutal. I loved it. Was there a flag?
The gap between 20 and 24 is pretty slim, so you could kind of safely put him in that range if you put any stock into adjusted net yards per pass attempt.
Oh, this hit's awesome. Pure shoulder, trying to bust the ball up, almost causing an interception. That's a great hit. That's a great hit. I hope he didn't get flagged for it afterwards or in trouble or something. Doesn't look like it. I loved it. That was awesome. I wish I would have seen that live. What are the Browns going to do with Baker moving forward, fat guy? Great question. What they'll probably do is sign, like the way that I've noticed this GM works is really smart. They'll probably get him on like a 2-year. My guess is they get him on a 2-year, very high salary deal because they'll have a lot of cap. And that's the only way that Baker would accept a 2-year deal is if he was getting paid more than what he would want for a long term. So that's what my guess is they'll do. What I think they should do is try and make a play for Rodgers or I know Big Rye cringes at these things, but I think it is more likely now than ever. Wilson and or Rodgers, I think the Browns should do an all-in move because like this is the Browns haven't got a whiff of the Super Bowl, and they actually have the talent to do so, and that's the one position they could upgrade. And if they have to trade 2-3 first-round picks, I say they do it. So and that's it. Like, and then if it doesn't work out, I'm fine with it. You know what I mean? Like, but why not push your chips in the middle at this stage? They have a great roster base, but I think they'll end up with Baker more than likely on a 2 to 3 year deal where they pay him too much, but that's just so that they don't have to do a 7-year monster deal that they can't get out of.
And I think if you add either of those quarterbacks, like the Browns are probably the favorite to win.
They're for sure the favorite for the Super Bowl if they have Wilson or Rodgers.
Yeah,
they are for sure.
It's
and honestly, I would put the probability as a 1-7 roughly, which was you're never going to get higher than that, like without superstar quarterback talent. Like you just aren't. You got to go for it, even though it's a low probability. You got to take your shot, and I hope the Browns are going to do it. So, and also too, in that if they did pull off a hypothetical trade, I would try and swing it so that the Browns get a lot of. This would be the smartest thing to do. The Browns get a lot of 4th to 7th round picks in return, in addition, so that they trade more top-heavy 1st and 2nd round picks, and then they get back a quarterback of top caliber. And they get 4th to 7s because since you're going to be paying that money for a quarterback, the only way to rebuild properly is to do it by volume and hit on one of those late round picks. It's the only way to do it. So that's my hypothetical perfect world. What's actually going to happen? Probably Baker on a 2 to 3 year deal, overpaid compared to what the market would, because they'd be in a stopgap position, which is unfortunate. But what are you going to do?
And it's so rare that quarterbacks of that quality have even the possibility of being traded.
Yes.
Like it's,
yes.
they're kind of in like this perfect spot, but it's, like Fat Guy said, it's a dream scenario. Like there's no rumors.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's unlikely.
But I do think there's a 20% possibility it does, which is higher than I could have ever imagined. Because I'd have it at 1% usually, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that kind of screws that analysis of mine is I don't have a good grasp of what kind of college quarterback talent's available and will flood the market.
I'm very confused.
That's going to play a big role in it, right? Because there's going to be teams that are going to be actively in the market for quarterbacks, and I think the Giants are going to be in that department. Washington will be very aggressive. I think Carolina is willing to do that as well. And perhaps Miami as well. So like those 4 teams are going to be hungry. I don't know if they're going to be attractive for a big quarterback name. They might be going after it in the draft. So, because I can't imagine like a trade working out between Green Bay and those teams, right? Like, I would imagine if you're Rodgers or Wilson, you would want to play for Cleveland at this stage. The roster's so much better than what you really have to work with. Even Green Bay's roster is better than Seattle's.
That's hard to do what the Celtics did today.
Holy Bradley
35-9 in an NBA game. I just saw that the Packers activated Lazard, so
Jameis Winston's out for the year. Wow. So they're gonna go with it? Are they gonna go with a Hill Simeon combo?
That's the only thing that's their only option
Makes
now.
Sense. Yeah.
They were able to ask Breeze because he's in the actual panel on Sunday night, and he said no, like he's not.
That's very interesting. Because to get Breeze to dust it off one last time.
Mm-hmm.
Breeze, you got 8 games in you, buddy. You know what? I bet you that's more on the table than you would think. Because that's a guy that, like...
publicly you just keep saying... You can't be like, I really want to come back.
Yeah,
like,
you can't.
It's the only thing you can say is no publicly, and then if it does happen...
Also, you have the ultimate leverage. Like you have him over the barrel, right? Like, if you're Breeze...
Oh, I've been there once or twice.
Yeah. And not only that, too, like, the reason I say is that's a guy it's probably more on the table. It's just because from what other players said about him and what he strikes me as, is that's a guy that's like, he's obviously ultra competitive. And I would imagine he stays in incredible shape, like to play in the league that long, you kind of have to.
I tried to find the Jeffrey Simmons play that I wanted to post in the Discord, but I can't find it.
I love that play that Jay put in there, the dog pile push. But that goes back to what you said. How is the offense? They get a free roll to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's great. I love it. But on the same token, the defense should be allowed to come in and lay a devastating. A guy should be able to do a running blow on them.
And that's what Jeffrey Simmons did, and he got called, and it just made me sick. And the player, because they had a commentary duo where it was the player and a commentary guy, and the player's like, he was mad too. He was like, that's none of that makes sense. And then the commentary guy was like, oh, well, safety, blah blah blah, and like, it's obviously safer not to do that. And then they brought the ref in, and the ref went, players can't do that. But like, to me, that's on the refs. Like, if the ref wants to keep the play, if they want to keep the player safe, blow that whistle. But they didn't, and then they throw a flag because a guy gets hit during a live play. Like, I just hate that. I think that's terrible. Oh, Chris Berman here. Fastest 3 minutes.
You do an Expos game and you get the does. You know the does.
I love those Chris Berman clips.
Oh my god, he's
At this point, with all those things Chris Berman has said in these fastest 3 minutes, you could probably make like a lifetime of deep fakes of him doing this for the next 100 years.
You're probably right too. It's pretty funny.
It's just him yelling players' names, teams' names, and and saying some sort of funny quip. That Steelers game was pretty crazy. Like to lose your kicker to a trick play and then have no kicker for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that was a little weird, eh?
And a Philly special by the Jets.
The Bills won't like. They did another thing that was really dumb. And that like they went like they put pedal to the metal to try and win again.
They just showed Belichick raising the roof, even though he's just asking for the play clock to get reset. But I like how they use that, like he's celebrating.
Yeah,
that was pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know a lot about like the college players coming in, so that's always a complete
such a
mystery.
deficiency for us, eh?
Well,
we
it's
have
just
like no clue the talent or the level of talent.
There's only so much that you can follow and cover.
Yeah,
That's
what are you gonna
something
do?
that doesn't fall in our scope.
Oh, and the Broncos didn't kneel down after that interception. They got the ball back, eh? The football team. You believe that they passed it with a minute 40 left?
I don't know what a lot of these teams are doing.
It's horrible. I can't even like. It's getting tough for me, and I'm getting so pessimistic about stuff because I can't believe it. I'm like, you get paid how many million to insist that your opinion of football can't be wrong? Like,
yeah. Well, it's a lot of these teams are the teams that aren't having success that do these types of things. So it's like, you know, eventually it catches up.
You know, and I can't say I'm a Lane Kiffin fan, but what Mickey told me about Lane Kiffin farming out his decision making, can you think of anything more intelligent than that? You could say what he wants as a coach, but that decision right there is like, I don't know, it's just fabulous to me. McCarthy said that he's a Seahawks fan, and the line would reflect that as well. Cash Chicago, right on.
Congrats. Yeah, thanks for posting the Chris Berman stuff on the Discord too.
Like, we love that one.
His stuff is it's hilarious. Chris Berman is truly a guy's guy, I guess you could say.
Oh my goodness. Go to partycasino.fun. What an abuse of extensions. See, Zaps, that's true. I remember when Kiffin attempted a 76-yarder when he coached the Raiders. that did happen, and I think that's what he got fired. I think like instantly after that by Al Davis. Hey, Josh Allen, if you want real fun, like that way, watch a tennis match on Bet365 and just watch the odds. I have hours of recordings of them, and they're very interesting. So, because like you'll see a player, this happens all the time, go from a plus 2200 to a minus 2200 in like 20 minutes. It's awesome.
Man, you just said Nugs making a run. I see they're down 11. That doesn't look good to me. The NBA is crazy, though. Like, in a minute, the game can change by 9, 10 points. Like, well, have the Nuggets not had a good start to the season, Jackson? Mickey got down on the second half under 26.5 at minus 105. Oh, Fat Guy, did you check out what the Titans-Rams line is?
Oh, I did not.
I could take a look then.
Odds Pinnacle.
Sorry, I've been distracted updating Discord type stuff.
Football.
The Rams are minus 7.5, minus 107 at Pinnacle.
So it moved it. They were what, 6 points?
Ah, the Clippers. Okay. Is it weird that the line changed to minus 5.5 Vikings at Baltimore? Baltimore make my list, but I guess all Vikings games have been close. I thought the game was at 5.5. Do you remember what the Baltimore line was?
I thought it was at 5.5.
Let me take a look. Let's see. Yeah, it's still at 5.5. So I saw it open there, and that's what I see it at now. So I'm not that surprised. I think that's a pretty fair line. I don't love either side at 5.5. I think 6 would be the tough part for me. Like if it was at 6, I wouldn't know, but that's only because 6 has become more of a key number. So we're going to get a 3rd and 1 play here from the Giants on their opening drive.
Wow. Why he's advocating to pitch the football? Oh, here we go. All right. I want to see the bot on this one too. Cuz it's not really a full yard either though.
I'll pull up the bot in a minute or two when this thing pulls up. Jackson said that OKC LAC game calls for a super teaser Clippers money line for the sports guy. Joking because it's telling us to make a play on the Clippers money line even though it's minus 797. And we calculated out you'd win 0.12 units.
Hey, a
if you
win's
were
a
to
win,
bet it.
Big Rye. You don't get it.
I don't.
You know what I've always wondered? Seeing a lot more prosthetics nowadays. Remember that guy at the bar, Big Rye?
Before you say any of that, we've got the info up here. Go for it. 22% chance to win. Punting, 16% chance. So that's the worst. That's a 6% difference. Even worse than those touchdown decisions earlier. Or the 4th and shorts on the goal line. But go ahead. Prosthetic guy.
Okay.
That kook.
I want to know how strong are those hands? Like, is it like the movies where Odd Job crushes a golf ball? Like, I've always wondered, like, how far are we taking the robotics on this, right?
I think it can be ridiculously strong. I guess it depends on like the materials that it's made out of.
Yeah, I don't know. Or oh no, a better version. I used a Bond one, but I used the wrong reference. Doctor No. That's the one. Doctor No is the one you want to do. Because Julius No does have the robotic hands. You ever seen Doctor No?
Of course not.
It's the first Bond. It's good.
I'm just gonna cancel all my plans this weekend and make sure I see it.
You should. If you haven't seen Doctor No yet, you should.
Jackson said minus 797 sounds awful considering the spread is 12. I think the spread for this game was 10.5 at money line minus 500. Yeah, the NBA is just a different beast.
Hey, Jackson, I watched Doctor No last night. Actually,
Oh,
there's a lot of
perfect reference.
ridiculousness in that movie, but it's still good.
Untouchable said he could use 0.12 units these days. It's one of those, like, betting a minus 797 basketball favorite. It's like, it's one of those ones where if you win, you're like, yeah, like I was supposed to win. And if you lose, it's like just morally crushing. I
Yeah.
find. Like it's one of those ones where it's like not worth, like you might win 12 of those. And obviously it's better, you know, you're going to make off if you're 12-1 and on bets like that. But, you know, it just takes that one to really take the wind out of your sails. Mickey Hill like gold member. The Bond movie wasn't bad either.
That is most certainly Austin Powers.
Well, then my joke didn't even make sense.
Like how it's Austin Powers is the only time that a Canadian has played the hero and the villain.
Despite being up 4 and having the ball, the Chiefs are only 7.5-point favorites on the live line.
Nice tackle. Not many Canadian villains. Oh, you forget, Mickey. Snidely Whiplash.
I definitely need to take my vitamin C. Snidely Whiplash?
Yeah. You don't know Snidely Whiplash?
No, he was
What
Canadian.
Canadian are you?
From Rocky and Bullwinkle. Great tackle there by the Giants corner. Adoree Jackson. Josh Allen with the middle here. He took Denver live at, what was it, plus 10.5 or plus 11.5, and now you're on Memphis the other way, minus 9.5 at plus 108. Congrats.
Plus money.
Yeah, Denver plus 11.5 at even money. Memphis minus 9.5. So hopefully it finishes on 10 or 11.
Snidely Whiplash is the foil, the villain to Dudley Do-Right, the Canadian Mountie. Oh, you got me there, Jackson. Yes, Scott Pilgrim vs. World technically does have a Canadian villain in Arrow. Good call. Oh, right. I don't know. Well, I mean, Dr. Evil's Belgian. I just went with the actor, right? Yeah, we only have Snidely Whiplash, really.
Yeah, even Gary Bettman's American.
I think he's more than that.
Oh man.
He's got a lot in common with other guys that run leagues.
Yeah.
Boris and Natasha. Oh, right. Yes, oh man. Yeah, but obviously he's Russian. I guess because they did a lot of villains. Mickey, you were around this time. A lot of villains were Russian because of the Cold War, because it was just the best. Like, why not make them the bad guy? Kind of like, they did Nazis were the bad guys in every 80s movie, Made sense, right? Like, when you default to a bad guy, Nazi's usually the way to go. Oh. It's so weird that the Giants could take the lead here.
Yeah. Sterling Shepard is out.
There might be hands to the face there on one of the linemen. John Ross getting some play here. Please do, Jackson. I'd love to know that. That'd be hilarious. I'm not sure how deep Russian films are. There are some really good Russian films from the Cold War, oddly enough.
The Iron Sheik on Twitter is great. 106.97. Oh, that's too bad.
I don't think I'm pretty sure it's not the Iron Sheik.
Well, it's like he's got like a crew of guys, like it's probably two of them.
I think he has two nephews, Celine Gion and something else Gion, Paige Gion or something. They're Canadian, and they're related to him somehow or have some connection to him. And I think they run his Twitter account. They made him relevant though.
But the thing is that like his that Twitter account is like things that he actually says though.
Yeah.
Like he's not the one tweeting it, but it's definitely things he says, or at least a very fun.
It's in the Sheik canon, as they say.
Yeah. I'm sure maybe not everything he said ends up on there, but it's on brand. Giants going to a hurry up.
Dr. Zhivago. I haven't seen that movie in 20 years.
Chiefs super aggressive here. They only bring 4. Drop from Sladen. Or no, that's Kadarius Toney, sorry. That was actually like a really, really good throw by Daniel Jones. But him and Tony not on the same page there on what was going to happen.
Thank you for asking that, though, Jackson. It's very interesting to me, weird things like that.
Curious to see what the fourth down bot says about that last one. So that's another one here. Go for it would have been 2% better. So what's that now? They gave up. They did a 4%er. Then they gave up a 4%er. They gave up a 6%er. Now they gave up a 2%er. So it's a 10% difference in win probability so far, using those 4 examples.
Now, you could make this argument that this guy's bot isn't nearly as sophisticated, perhaps, as the team's analytics. But
I highly doubt that.
I highly doubt. Yeah, like I'm just thinking of an argument, right? So, like, I'm sure that
well, this guy's on the record of saying he doesn't care about analytics. So, like, that's the starting point.
Yes.
So it's by this guy I mean the Giants head coach.
Yes.
It's it's just enough expected value you give up. It's just hard to win games.
Like the thing is, what's funny about what you just said is it's not that it's even hard to win games. It's that how do I put this? When you win, it's hard for you to take credit for it, even other than luck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a good outcome of a low probability. Like it's such a bizarre, I don't know. Because how else would, like, when you make really bad choices, how else are you, I don't know.
So an underthrown ball there. Tyreek Hill managed to get behind the defense, but yeah, the Iron Sheik stuff, Mickey, like, I don't know if you just found out about it today, but like that goes back years. Like, he's been doing this for years and it's hilarious. Like, it's funny I say this, like, it just never gets old.
Was it Darrell Williams a fullback at one point, Big Rye?
I don't think so. Let me look at his build. Because
he doesn't look the size.
He's 6 feet 225. I don't remember him ever being listed as a fullback, but like he might have. He might have for the Chiefs, like when he joined the team. I don't know if it gets into that extent.
Surprised Duvernay Tardif's on the sideline. He did take the year off.
I don't know what happened there, but Love got completely turned around the wrong way. Josh Allen on with the Mannings and in chat. How about that?
Can't beat it.
Oh, yeah, the Iron Sheik stuff is just, it's gold. It's so great. That play even faked out Tyreek Hill.
I like that call. Man, look at the gut on who's at 97.
I think that's Dexter
Ooh.
Lawrence.
Oh, that's a big belly.
Yeah, that's Dexter Lawrence.
I get so confused with like the motion behind the quarterback. Like how like the legality of it, you know what I mean?
Oh, like, yeah, I get.
They're the only team that does that, right?
There's other teams that do it. It's a really, really nice way to tell if a team's in man or zone. Because if there's no one following him across, like, it's pretty obvious they're in zone. And now when they're in zone, you know, okay, I need to hit between these windows. Like, I'm making it seem a lot simpler than it needs to be, but...
Yeah. Couldn't you just switch off? Do you know what I mean? You play man, but you switch off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no one moves. You'd have to have a defense that communicates well. There's got to be, like, some sort of nexus to this. You know what I mean? Like,
there
I don't know if
is, and
that's
that's
even
when
a
they
word.
talk about disguising coverages. That's what it is, right? It's essentially just trying to convince the quarterback pre-snap that you're in a defense that you're not, and that's what that would be. But that's why I love the motion stuff. I feel like teams or offensive coordinators that have more motion at the start of snaps usually have more success, and like there's no science to back that up. But like I think of San Francisco, I think of Kansas City as like teams and offenses that are more onto that. Couple nice runs from Gore so far in this game. Derek Gore, no relation to Frank Gore that we found out earlier.
Glad you cleared that up, honestly.
Oh, we would have been calling him Frank Gore's son the entire time if we didn't know.
They
look very
because I want it
similar.
to be true, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's always been the rumors that his son was going to play, and like I don't know when that is, or if he's eligible, or if he's still in college. I don't know. To help out, Frank Gore's son is named Frank Gore Jr., so it's going to be very obvious if he plays.
I love the ego you have to name your kid a junior. It's weird, like some of this like discoordinated passing from the Chiefs the last few weeks. It reminds me of the Super Bowl where like, you know how you used to have faith in the Chiefs, like every play you're like, oh, something's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
But like but now it's kind of like, oh, I don't know, this isn't gonna work out. George Foreman, yeah, 7 times over or whatever. Who am I to talk? If I have a son, I know what I'm gonna name him already. It's been agreed on.
Did George Foreman name all his kids George?
Some form of George, yeah.
Well, not only does Kelsey have 1 catch for 3 yards, he now has 2 catches, but he's got a lost fumble. That's a pretty big play in this game. I came over to this sheet, back to the quarterback stuff to highlight that Mahomes is actually ranked 16th right now in NEA this year. For
That's a clear
quarterbacks.
fumble.
And like we're all giving Baker Mayfield a hard time, and Mayfield actually has a better NEA this year than Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert.
Like bizarre.
Mr. Mister saying that he started Kelsey in fantasy, so he'll probably get like 2 catches, and that's just how it feels sometimes.
Fantasy's ruined football for a lot of people. It's like a big negative to it. I don't really like it.
Yeah, I find it interesting too. Like there's players on here like where it's just interesting to see where guys have actually lined up, right? Like we're getting a decent sample now. There's anywhere from 5 to 8 games I can see. And like Stafford's incredibly high, 9.5. It's probably unlikely that he keeps this pace, but it just shows you how strong of a start he's had to this season. Russell Wilson is very, very high as well, considering that like he was 2-3. Just shows you how bad the Seahawks have been just as a team in general if he's playing that well and they're not winning games. Prescott's 3rd, Brady 4th, Kyler Murray is 5th, Joe Burrow is 6th. Someone who I dislike, Derek Carr is 7th, Josh Allen 8th, Lamar Jackson 9, Kirk Cousins, another guy that a lot of people write off, is ranked 10th. Garoppolo 11. That's pretty high too for a guy who a lot of people consider, like a fringe starter now with all the rumors and the drafting by San Fran. Jameis Winston's 12th. Rodgers 13th. Mayfield 14th. So technically the difference between Rodgers and Mayfield is minimal this year as far as quarterback play goes, at least according to NEA. Carson Wentz 15, Mahomes 16, Justin Herbert 17, Bridgewater 18, Jalen Hurts 19th, and then we have a cluster here of Matt Ryan, Mac Jones, Daniel Jones, Ryan Tannehill, and Ben Roethlisberger. They're pretty much very, very even. So we can throw them all like the just below average so far this year. And then we got Taylor Heineke, Tua, Jared Goff, Darnold, Trevor Lawrence, Jacoby Brissett, Davis Mills, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields. I wonder where Mike White finished with his NEA for his big win with the Jets.
Yeah, do you see that ticket some guy had? He bet Mike White to have the most passing yards of any of the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
At 125-1.
Oh my. They don't have NEA that I can see here, but he had an 8.33 AYA. A 6.14 NEA, but that includes his he played a bit week 7. But like it's safe to say he played at like an 8, which would put him like in the top 5 in that one game.
Did Mickey bet the under on this, eh? This is really good.
On the second half, yeah, 26 and a half.
Well, it's 0. Pretty good. I like shit like that. I really do.
Mickey said he didn't enjoy fantasy, and I'm kind of Fat Guy and I are kind of the same. Like we're not huge fans of
do you
playing
see the
fantasy.
Penetration from Jones on that play?
It's funny because the better I get at fantasy, the less I like it, which I don't even know if that makes sense. I feel like fantasy is one of those things, if you're really struggling, it can be fun because you're like consistently trying to figure out how to make your team better and you're taking these chances. I've somehow managed to suck all the joy out of fantasy for myself.
I hate how people interpret things. Like I had a guy, like close friend's brother. He's texting me about fantasy, and I said I don't care. And then he's like, well, for a guy who knows a lot, you're in last place. I'm like, yeah, and in the other league, I'm in first. It doesn't matter. And then he's like, you really don't care? I'm like, no. He's like, why do you do it then? I'm like, because you don't have a replacement. And like, the people are so invested in choices that don't matter. Like, start player X, start player Y. It doesn't matter a lot of the time. And it is a ton of work to be good at it. It is. Like, I do think our strategy, though, I will say this, it's mostly Big Rye. Like, it was one idea I had about tight ends being rare, and Big Rye kind of came up with the concept of our points above replacement. I believe in that. I think that's a better strategy than, like, as far as like no, it's not basic. I would call it a medium strategy because it could be improved upon. But I don't know of a better strategy than that, like a starting one.
What a bizarre play.
That was so weird. That could have been a pick six the other way. Oh my God, it would have been two probably. Dude, Jones took a big shot there, eh?
A huge shot. I think, like, for casual fans, I think fantasy football is like a ton of fun. Like, I wouldn't consider myself a casual fan. Like, Fat Guy and I do a lot of interesting work behind the scenes already for the league, that fantasy is just like another thing we have to do. It's like work on top of work, and it just ends up being like, it's not fun. But if you're just sitting down, you got nothing else going on, and you want to watch a game, and you got a fantasy team, like, it's fun. It's fun that way. Fantasy's been a thing for a long time. Fantasy baseball started in what? Probably like the 80s?
I think it's older than that, but yeah. Hey, it's a cool idea, that's for sure. I also hate daily fantasy, the industry. I think it's just insanely stupid. But, and like rigged. Just because there's an asymmetry of information.
Yeah, fantasy baseball was the first I've ever heard of, and it was like,
yeah,
it was a long time ago. I say the 80s like it was that long.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to peg down what's a fun sporting event. I found tennis to be more fun this year than 95% of football games, I think, this year. But then there's ones like the Chargers Raiders. I really, really loved that game. That game was awesome. And let me think, what's another one? I liked Cleveland, Kansas City in week 1. That was a good one. Like, there's a few gems that were just like incredible. You know what I mean? So like, you kind of do this gambling thing with football where like the viewership's gambling. Like, I watch it for reasons other than just enjoyment, but sometimes the enjoyment just blows out, right? Football's capable of that, right? Like, even you can get that investment, I think, in playoff hockey and basketball, but it's just harder for me, at least, right?
The other thing too, Jackson, to add on, because you said only 15% of daily fantasy players are winning, and I'd say 12% of those probably work for one of the daily fantasy sites.
or have some sort of plug into information that's asymmetrical.
Yeah. There was a big
Scandal.
scandal bust where, like, what was it at the time? It was DraftKings and FanDuel. Were those the two big ones?
Yeah. Well, they still are.
And DraftKings, people who worked at DraftKings were winning at FanDuel, and people who worked at FanDuel were using the information to win at DraftKings.
Yes, they're using their best players' information. It's smart, but like that's just scummy, right? And already you're paying a ridiculous rate on those.
Yeah, the rig that you pay, like, for betting an NFL game in Vegas, it's -110, and for betting for doing daily fantasy, it was -115. So you're ending up
and
paying,
then on offshore it's -105.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Offshore baseball -104. So daily fantasy -115. It's a very high rate to pay to start with. And then I remember there was a baseball writer who he played 50 days in a row, and he wrote that, like, he's a baseball writer, so he knows a thing or two about the league. Big touchdown.
Yeah, he's still
here.
bad. He's going to be bad at it, but like there is some basis of knowledge, which actually might be negative, but go on.
But he played 50 days in a row head to head. So essentially, even if you're bad, you should still win maybe 20 to 20 to 25. Like, that's pretty much
20,
average.
20.
And he won 3 times in 50 games. So it's like, he was just highlighting that it's very, very hard to play. And what a lot of like the really like the shark daily fantasy players do is, like, they'll play like 10,000 lineups. So they're playing against, 10,000 other people setting their lineups, and it just shows you how much work and how much emphasis they put into perfecting what they do, and how they have to.
But Big Rye, this goes back to the same old gambling story, the golden ticket. Do you know what I mean? What everyone wants to be is a lottery winner, right? And like, it's a weird thing. Like, when people win something that they're not supposed to, have you ever noticed that they walk around like they, like, you know what I mean? Like, they have an air of superiority almost. You know what I mean? Like, I remember this, my favorite time playing poker ever. One of the worst players I know. He was up in this game. The most like a bad player could win would be maybe $500, and he was up like $2,300, and he was getting pictures with his chips and like a trophy and stuff like that, and it was like hilarious. So I waited, and he kept playing, and I played for 10 hours, and I took all of his money, and I felt really good about it, even though that sounds horrible, right? Yeah. But it's because I just like that type of arrogance and stuff. It seeps in, you know what I mean? Like a lottery winner is going to be giving out financial advice when in reality they did like the dumbest financial thing and it happened to work out, right?
Yeah.
It just, that's what that is a big attraction to the regular person, and daily fantasy offers that golden ticket story. So do parlays, right? That's why how many stories a year do we hear about the guy, oh, he's got just the Lions to win and he wins all this money, or it doesn't matter, you know, the one, right? Like they always highlight it because it's good for the books, because the book makes an absolute fortune on parlay. They haven't released any numbers on daily fantasy, but I can't imagine that they're much different.
Well, there's a reason why there was such a blitz in daily fantasy commercials. What was it, like 3-4 years ago? Like, it was insane. Like, every second commercial was a DraftKings commercial, and they had to come away from it because of that scandal. But it's still, lots of people play it.
There's something interesting with Jackson's here. It's not really treated as gambling in most states. So weird to me. Yes, the politicians' perceptions of gambling is insane. Playing blackjack, I would call that gambling. You had the house has an unfair advantage, but it's small and realized over time. So you can, ostensibly, if you were a $5 bettor and one day out of the year you decide to bet maximum $5,000 a hand, assuming you could afford it, you could be a lifetime winner at blackjack because of that. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, like that's like the probability of you becoming a winner from that is way more likely than someone winning the lottery at DFS, right? It's like playing you know how they used to have the mafia used to run the numbers racket. That's what it feels like to me. So
They also, the biggest thing with daily fantasy is there was this like legal loophole that if it was a skill based competition, they could get it done, and that's what they call daily fantasy as like a skill based thing. Whereas
poker
they
is 100 times more of a skill. Yeah, it's so crazy.
Whereas they call like single game handicap sports betting is technically not skill based.
Yeah,
it's not a skill based game. So just very interesting that
yeah.
how the law was written and how daily fantasy came to be, at least as popular and as predatory as it is, was just based off how that specific law was written in the US, at least.
Part of that though goes back, it's deep rooted stuff like lotteries have been used forever to pay for stuff in the United States, right? So they have more of a favorable viewing, right? Like I think that's how they paid for, you know, like the War of Independence. Like I think that's how they funded it, was lotteries. So that's how they funded like I believe like bridges and stuff in Pennsylvania, and I'm sure they still do it today, right? Like because some of those American lotteries are just bananas huge. And here the lottery system is a billion-dollar industry where we live. It's only 5 million people where we live, me and Big Rye. It's nuts. And I can't think of a worse form of gambling than Keno or lottery.
I did a big dive on that, Jackson, a few years back because I wanted to find out like how did they actually get to do this, because it's important for Fat Guy and I to know that kind of stuff, and it was very bizarre. Like I remember doing a deep dive on it, and it was just very interesting. And they talked about how the rules were written and how the person who wrote the rules had some sort of tie, and it's very like, it's pretty white collar crime stuff as far as that daily fantasy is concerned.
Well, it's America. You just pay a bunch of lobbyists a bunch of money and off you go.
Yeah. So the Giant, or at least it feels like the Chiefs are taking what the Giants are giving them, and it's like essentially just dump off passes. So they're doing a good job downfield, but at the same time, like they're kind of just bleeding by letting the Chiefs, get these like 5-6 yard chunks with ease.
See, Jackson have a good one. Mickey's got another great quote. Lottery is taxation of the stupid, and I'm all in.
Have a good night, Jackson.
My favorite was when my dad bought some sort of lottery ticket. Not like the standard lottery, but like win this house or something. Or no, it was a lottery ticket. It was years ago. And I'm like, what are you going to do if you won, 50 million? And he goes, you know what? Absolutely nothing. I'm like, why do you play then? He's like, that's a good point. I don't think he did it ever again. Because how would it change his life, right? If you're retired.
Yeah,
you get a slightly nicer house. Like
it's more the excitement of winning, really.
That's the whole point. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Unnecessary roughness call here on 48.
Pretty fortunate for the Chiefs after that failed run play.
What happened to that former Browns first rounder that got traded to the Giants? What was his name?
Injured.
Kick returner.
Yeah, he got injured.
Oh, okay.
Because he was the guy this year that at the coin toss said, like, give me the effing ball or whatever. Like, he did something weird.
Oh, yeah. What was his name again? I can't see. The Rolodex is just failing now.
Like, I want to say Corey Coleman, but it's the wrong failed. I know who you're talking about. It's the safety. Jabril Peppers, Josh Allen.
Jabril Peppers, yeah. Thank you, Josh Allen. Another dog cashes on prime time. Too early to call, but more than likely.
Live line's currently down, but I'm got my eye on it. The Chiefs were still favored to win, so I guess it just depends which market you're talking about, but Chiefs could easily score 14, and what would that make it? Still a 10-point game. No, that'd be 11, right? So
Blake Bell. It's a name you don't hear very often.
was Jabril Peppers like really good at Michigan?
Yeah, he played offense and defense.
Mr. Sometimes there's nice value on those teams, though.
Kelsey being pretty quiet, huh? Yeah. I think he's got negative fantasy points because of the fumble. He's got a fumble in like less than 10 yards. Jerick McKinnon getting a snap. Oh, that kid's got a pretty good, accurate haircut. Yeah. Broken Wings, I think, was the song from Mr. Mister. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but that's my guess. Yes, it is. Mr. Mister was Broken Wings. Nailed it.
Broken Wings, Something Real, and Hunters of the Night. As well as the song Kyrie.
I only know Broken Wings. So that means there's no other song they had.
In fact, do you remember which side we picked for Jets? Colts?
It'd be hard for us to take Kansas City.
This is quite the play here if this stands. It didn't look like he had crossed the line of scrimmage, but... Oh, are they calling it incomplete?
Yeah.
There was another play in the Titans game. Yeah, that looked incomplete. There was a play in the Titans game where there was a low pass like this, and A.J. Brown ended up catching it. It was third and 10, and he caught it like 3 yards short of the sticks. And like he had enough time to like get up, make the catch, and then have the attempt to at least gain like a few more yards for the first down. But because they blew it incomplete, the play was dead. And so then when they challenged, they ended up with a 4th and 3 instead. That was another call that really
a gaff.
Yeah, like it wasn't guaranteed that he was going to get the first down, but like it was just rough. It's just rough being on as a Tennessee backer. '80s best time to be alive. The hair sequence. Mickey said he was high most of the '80s.
I think I would have done well in that era.
I think we did well.
That might have been my best years.
They are, ironically, they probably were. We just don't remember them. Or at least I don't. I don't know how far back your Rolodex goes. Apparently it stopped working, so.
It has been terrible lately. Holy smokes. Holy smokes.
A really nice string of events here if you have the second half under. Chiefs fortunate to fall on that one. The kick looks good. No flags. We have a tie game. Was it called Arrowhead and now it's called Geha Field? Or Geha? I don't know how to say that. Geha.
Yeah.
I've never heard the song, so I was just looking at Google and it showed. Now I gotta go listen. I just bring it up because outside of Kyrie Irving, Kyrie's just not a name I've heard very much. Before Kyrie Irving came into the NBA, so I'm curious as to
You mean Morpheus?
why. What's Morpheus?
He put a picture out of himself, like alluding that he was Morpheus recently. I thought it was funny.
The yeah, he's off my radar right now. So I guess he's still not playing, like he's still sitting out.
Yeah. This actually is nice defense from the Giants.
Well, you can do unexpected things on defense and have success.
It's almost better that you do. Oh, nice stick by 44.
So we got a ball game here. It's tied at 17. Giants have the ball. Chiefs are still favored on the live line. I'm going to have to take your word for it, Untouchable, because I can't listen to it right now. Yeah, you can't go wrong with a mullet.
Mullets are cool.
Tight end screen here to Evan Ingram.
I always find that strange. Tight end screen. You're screening it to the guy who should be blocking in space.
You know what? It's become vogue in the NFL to do that, and it's worked out really well for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, it
like,
has. I
not
will
every
concede that.
It's not like they're going to the house, but it's definitely like it feels like an easy play for the offense to
yeah, but
to
it's like
capitalize on.
that one was 7. That's great. You know
Oh,
what I
it's
mean?
terrific. You get 7 yards of play, like a play. It's
On first down. Jeez, man, life's
gonna
easy,
make things
right?
easier.
There you go. You get some tough yards. Now you got a 3rd and a half. Awesome.
See, that seemed totally unnecessary, and like I feel like a flag should be thrown on that play for sure. Like they were still fighting 10 seconds after the play had ended.
Nothing makes sense. I still have parachute pants, Mickey.
You're going to watch Cheap Trick Saturday at Parks Casino?
Oh my God.
That'll be an awesome
I think
time.
my mom wanted to go to that one.
Oh, that was the worst tackle I've ever seen. He just pushed him an extra 10 yards. Parachute pants and sleeveless Guess sweatshirt. Oh man, I hope Fat Guy puts the investment in to get a Guess sweatshirt for one of our picks videos.
Why not?
Jones is the answer for New York. Jones is a Fat Guy's higher on Jones than I am, but it just shows you like with the right coaching and almost any player can be good. Women wore sequin sweaters. It was mesmerizing. I wouldn't care too much for that, but maybe if Fat Guy threw on the sequins, I'd be licking my lips and blowing kisses his way.
I have gynecomastia according to one of the viewers, so
yeah. Little do they know I'm the one who needs the support.
you probably do. You're probably worse than me right now, which is hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I'm Samoan from the neck down.
No, the neck to like the belly button.
Big Rye from Tonga is what I should be called.
You and Barbarian and Ming.
Yeah.
Dude, that was so obvious. Like, oh, it's so funny.
Two of us are really tough.
In my experience, native peoples are incredibly tough.
Yeah. Knee
I was
high.
21. I broke my hand on one of their faces, and they said I hit like a bitch. Like 15 in a row, solid ones. Put any white guy down. Not one drop of blood. You hit like a bitch. All right. I guess I do. Hand swollen for months.
Mud said, I'm pretty sure good coaching wouldn't make me a starting quarterback.
Yeah, that's a good point.
As far as like Daniel Jones, though, if you had to measure like physical tools, like he's up
Not
there.
that bad. Like
He's up there when it comes to like the physical aspects of the game. I'm worried about the mental aspect of the game for Daniel Jones.
Passing accuracy is pretty good actually. It's everything else. This is a big stage, and can he handle it?
Lots of audibles at the line here. They managed to get that blocked up to just a slight overthrow. Slayton didn't look.
Slayton could have got that and ran. And that was possible.
Yeah. We get a flag on this play, though.
Oh, he did get held.
That's
wow, that would have been a house call then.
Because it just didn't look like he was at full speed when that ball got there.
That would have been a house call then to Slayton. Oh.
Let's go, New York refs. I can believe Peterson's coming back. That guy's doing anything for whatever cash he can get in the NFL.
Please. I can't imagine he's kept his finances in tow, as they say, flush. This game's a bit of a dogfight, eh?
It's great. This game, like we've been joking about it, but this game's actually been very good. Yeah, the Ridley thing is really, it's sad. Like it's sad that, you know, the mental health is not good enough to even suit up and show up. Like that's not a good situation. But I think it is good that athletes, you know, are willing to step away. Like I don't think he's done forever. Like I hope that's not the case. Like I hope it's a short-term thing. He works on himself and he can get back on the field. I'm sure the Falcons would really like him to be playing too. He's a very talented player. AP's the only non-special teams player playing from the 07 draft. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think that he even beat out quarterbacks as far as longevity. Where's the dime store scramble? Danny not running much tonight. No, they've kept him in the pocket for the most part, but I think overtime is going to be the best case scenario for those quarterback rushing overs. That it's so weird. Like that safety was like 15 to 20 yards still further back than any player was on the field.
Yeah, he held his zone, Big Rye. That doesn't look like a good punt. Why is there a late flag?
Mickey said, I think Peterson will make a coach and a good one.
Maybe a running back coach, yeah.
Mr. said Chiefs have to win to stay in the hunt. 3-5 would be, it's not like a death knell, but it's, you know, you can only pick up so many losses. And they're lucky that they're in the AFC. Because what's it going to be like? Probably like 10 to 11 wins will get you in.
I mean, yeah.
What, 11-7? Is that the new, or 11-6? And 11-6 still within the realm of possibilities for the Chiefs. So they play they still play the Packers, Raiders, Cowboys, Broncos, Raiders, Chargers, Steelers, Bengals, Broncos. Their schedule's a bit of a disaster. That's a tough schedule. Packers, Raiders, Cowboys, Broncos, Raiders, Chargers, Steelers, Bengals, Broncos. Like that is not an easy route. I think I tend to agree, like I don't know the exact breakdown of stuff, but it is going to be hard for the Chiefs to make the playoffs. There really isn't any easy games. Like maybe some people would say the Broncos, but like the Broncos are a division team and like the Broncos are just solid. Just a solid team to play. And especially with how the Chiefs defense is played, like if the Broncos can like just move the ball against you and keep that ball, like that's the kryptonite for the Chiefs. Josh Allen's liking the Raiders defense. What do you think, fat guy? What the Raiders?
This is the weirdest thing. Is like I don't know. I wish I could give simple answers, and I was better at communicating that way. But how do I put this? I feel like they're just getting a lot of results that they should have got the last few years. I don't think much has changed. Like obviously they've gotten a little bit better on defense, but I think they're running good. Let's put it that way. Like I think they're slightly getting results above expectation. The Raiders are. I think it's a good division though, to be honest. Like if your worst team is the Raiders or the Broncos, then that's a pretty good division.
Remember before the season, Raiders were like 18-1 to win the division.
I loved those pricing, and they dropped so much because there was a big line movement because there was a potential for the Broncos to get Aaron Rodgers. But the Broncos ended up settling back, but the line movement in tow, because it's kind of like a scale, right? It shifted the Raiders odds back dramatically, and then the Raiders odds never shifted back. So as far as futures went, I really like them.
I just thought it was such a gross mispricing. Like, because there was a bunch of other teams that are like these, like on paper, this is the worst team in the division, but they'd be like 8-1 or 10-1. Like 18-1 for the Raiders was just crazy, and it was so low because the price on the Chiefs was so high.
Well, and also too, and there was a chance. There was like they priced the Broncos at like a 50% chance that Aaron Rodgers would be on the team, or sorry, a 35% chance.
Yeah.
So it was like a prorated thing. So the Raiders just got the shaft in that. Well, not really the shaft, the opportunity to bet on, right? So it was interesting. Like the Raiders futures would have been really juicy this year had you taken them. But I really only think you should take futures with a bookie at a worse price because of the lack of opportunity cost. Because say like the opportunity cost on say like $1,000 or $500, like for the average Joe, that's going to be too much to bear, right? Offside, bail them out.
Well, Fat Guy's saying like if you bet $1,000 on that and you have to wait for an entire season for that $1,000 to come back, like that's $1,000 that can be working for you in different ways.
Yeah, well, if you're able to make 1% on a college, you know what I mean, on a college football Sunday or Saturday rather, or an NFL Sunday, you know, and 1% per NBA player, something like that, it's just financially irresponsible to sign up for something, even if you did have a great edge, right? So, I mean, all this, because there's just so much to betting rather than winning and losing. You might get a face masking here against the Giants. There you go. Wow, that was a bad call. That's really bad. That's unfortunate for the Giants.
Kelsey did something interesting there that I'm surprised you don't see more players do. But if you bring the ball up towards your face mask, wouldn't you be way more likely to get face mask calls? Because so many guys are trying to like pull at the ball or punch the ball out. And like, I know you can get punched in the head a lot easier, but wouldn't that be a flag too?
Who cares?
Well, other than safety, but I know what you mean.
Punch away, idiot. No, that's a great point. It's just that when you hold the ball like here, it's more natural, right? Like, whereas up here it's unnatural, but like, come on, like for the sake of strategy, that makes a lot more sense. I like that idea. It's always like, it's so weird how like armchair quarterbacks like ourselves have such bizarre ideas on how we would at least test things.
Well, we just saw it in play there. Like the ball was high and the guy was trying to rip the ball out. And because Kelsey was holding the ball up to his chest so closely, like when he twisted the ball around, it looked like he was twisting his face mask.
I don't know why teams don't have two kickers, to be honest. And also
like
two
place kickers, like two field goal
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
one for long, one for accuracy.
Correct. Yep. And I don't know why they don't have like a 7-foot guy that they use on field goal
block
blocking
kicks.
attempts. Because like I'd be curious how like big the trajectory is too, and if he gave him like really thick gloves too, because he just has to get a tiny piece, spreads his fingers out as much as possible, take up as much surface area in his arms. I mean, and you put him in the right places too, where you give him a higher chance of blocking it. On a long field goal, 55 and longer, I would imagine that'd be, a lot higher. But that would just a hypothesis. Who knows if that's even feasible? That was a great trick play. I had no idea where they hand that ball off.
I thought
didn't
the
think it
ball
gonna
was
get
with the
this-
running back.
Same here. That totally fooled me from the nice Chiefs.
Hardman did well in the open field there.
Yeah, that's kind of a Kansas City specialty, though, isn't it? Like
Well,
guys that are exceptionally good at this type of thing.
Well, Hardman's like a speedster. Like he's supposed to be like Tyreek Hill, but it hasn't worked out quite the same. So just nice to see when he has plays like that where
He's a later round pick,
success.
though, isn't he?
I'd have to double check and see. I'll check after this play. Second round pick in 2019.
He's all right for a second round pick. He's probably about average. Maybe below
He's a tough
average.
one, right? Because he's played. Like, he gets on the field and plays snaps. He hasn't been very productive, though, for a second round pick.
But he is there, yeah. I thought he was a 4th round pick. I was mistaken.
Like, Hardman is, what would you say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's 11th for yards from his draft year. And there's Metcalf. Metcalf was actually drafted after McCole Hardman, so
Yeah.
imagine DK Metcalf on the Chiefs. AJ Brown was selected 5 picks before McCole Hardman. Terry McLaurin was drafted in the 3rd round. Deontay Johnson, a 3rd round pick. Deebo Samuel was a higher 2nd round pick. Marquise Brown was the highest selected receiver out of all these guys.
Look at Miles Sanders. Wow.
Well, Miles Sanders is pretty good for receiving as far as that goes.
Yeah.
But even like Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson put up more yards. He's really
I'm big on tight
McCole,
ends 1st round.
McCole Hardman's really like at the bottom end of receivers who have played meaningful snaps. Like after that we get
But what's the argument? He's still playing snaps, you know what I mean?
N'Keal Harry and Scotty Miller. Olabisi Johnson, Travis Fulham, Keyshawn Johnson, Paris Campbell, Miles Boykin, Andy Isabella. Jethro only has 1 timeout. Josh Allen said a field goal would be ideal. Giants were pretty ready for that play.
It's been a nice game from the Giants defense.
Fat guy, this is more up your alley. Mickey said, look at the difference in Cole Hauser from Dazed and Confused to Yellowstone.
I don't know Yellowstone.
I think Yellowstone's like a new popular TV show.
Right when you get to... Yeah. Oh, it's the Kevin Costner thing. Man, I don't know Yellowstone. It's I'm so lost on the new ones. I just don't have the time for it, and I won't either. Right? Like I'm not gonna be able to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna get to watch TV if I'm doing what I intend on doing for a few years. So I'm gonna say 5. Oh yikes!
It's kind of smart that he probably wanted to throw that one away, but it was smarter for him to take the sack to keep the clock running.
Keon Crossan's a really fast player. I only learned that because he was on the Patriots when they slowed down Tyreek Hill in that playoff game, only like 40 yards or something like that. It was him and J.C. Jackson double covering him. And I had to look those guys up, and they had blazingly fast 40 times.
Josh Allen needs 31 yards from Jones. I'm sure a couple other guys need some rushing yards from Daniel Jones. So a lot on the line on top of it. Possible win opportunity here for the Giants. Dime time.
That's a nice dime time's great. It's a great line.
It's pretty surprising, actually, on the live line. I'm actually going to jump on this. I'm going to take the Giants are plus 426 on the live line. I'm going to put... I didn't get my bet down in time. Probably better that I didn't get it down because they don't have any timeouts.
That price.
That just seems like a ridiculously high price for...
But what if you get a field goal and you go to overtime?
Yeah.
Still, at overtime, they have probably a 40% chance of winning. 38.
Oh, even better. They're plus 471 now. So I've got a unit on the Giants plus 471. So obviously this was probably not a good start to this. So no, it's just a touchback. So
that's great. I mean, do you have anyone that could take off the top? Darius Slayton. Your best bet for a touchdown would be Darius Slayton here, I would imagine.
A lot of teams get in this situation and they're like, like plus 150 to like minus 150, depending on the offense. Like, I just feel like that's...
You're admitting they're bad,
price.
But not at that price. They're not that bad.
Yeah. This first play isn't good because they've already gone up to plus 614.
Oh, my God. Did you get out of bounds at least? Oh, okay. That's not so bad. Graham Gano is a long field. He's a long range.
He's putting on gloves in case they run a fake.
I'm sure that's it. That might do it.
Yeah, that's real tough. So it's going to be 3rd and long here with the clock still running. The receivers at the top don't know what the play is. Oh, man. What a disaster.
You're better off chucking that one up. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, the fact that no one knew what the play was, like, this is where you can really, really tell, like, good coaching from bad coaching. And, like, a lot of this has to do with experience. This is not, this just isn't an experienced group on offense, but.
But shouldn't you know, like, okay, if we take a sack, we got to run a quick go play. Like, this is what we're going to do. Like,
That's what you
like,
think, but it's
how
pretty
hard
clear
could
they
that
don't.
be?
They don't.
These are adults. You know what I mean?
They don't.
You're right. They don't. They don't.
It's very clear they don't. So you can't advance a fumble. So that's it. That's game. Chiefs win by 3.
You lose a unit as quick as I've ever seen it.
Yeah, it's just how it is sometimes. That's live betting for you.
Dime bag. This is comedy. Is it ever?
Dime bag.
Giants cover. Do they ever?
Yeah, they sure do. Josh Allen got a screenshot of the kid who looked like Patrick Mahomes.
The kid looked great.
Thanks for joining us, Mud. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Mister. Thanks for joining us,
gentlemen.
Mickey and Josh Allen and Untouchable Jay, who's gone to sleep, and Jackson, who's gone to sleep. But appreciate everyone stopping by. Seahawks fan, all you guys, you made our nights. Thanks everyone for watching, and that's it, really. Congrats to anyone who was on the Giants against the spread, and whoever was on the Chiefs money line. We will see you guys later.